Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Chit Chat with Cass. We are moving on to Empire Strikes Back for the Star Wars series with my dad. Hello.
Hello.
So, just putting it right out there, this will contain lots of spoilers, most likely for the entire saga. So be warned, we will be talking about spoilers from Empire and all the other movies as well. How many times did you see Empire in theater?
3 times.
3 times.
Yes. The first time I saw it, it was 3 days after it opened. It was playing in a theater on the far side of town again. And all the kids on my street wanted to see it. And none of our parents wanted to drive the 20 miles to go. So there was a couple that lived up the street from us, and they wanted to see it. So all the kids from the street piled in their big station wagon, and we drove out there. And we got in line, and it was a pretty good line. And we stood there and for a couple hours, and the line started moving. And we got 10 people from the door, and they came out and said, "Oh, this showing is sold out. You'll have to wait for the next one." So 10 people from the door, right outside of the theater where we could hear it. We had to sit there through the entire playing of Empire Strikes Back, while the couple that took us out there went to a steakhouse and had dinner and drinks and had a great time while us kids stood in line. But we saw it once then, and then when my family went on vacation to the coast, my mom, dad, and sister wanted to go roller skating, and I'm not a roller skater. I'm a bicycle rider, always have been, always will be. And I told my mom, I said, I want to go see Empire Strikes Back. It's playing at the little one-screen theater in the little resort town we were in. And so I went and saw it. And the next day, everybody was trying to figure out what to do, and I said, I want to go see The Empire Strikes Back again. So I went and saw it again. So twice on vacation, and once 3 days after it opened. Which,
it's so funny that it was still only at that one theater with the popularity that had grown for Star Wars.
It was weird because they basically had a south and north, a west, and an east theater that were the same thing. But it was only playing at the west one.
That's
and we're
really
on the
weird.
East side of town.
That's very weird. But it was funny because recently, the first time we went and saw Last Jedi, we had the same situation. And it was like, you were reliving it, but it was the first experience for me. We were standing right outside the theater and we're hearing a bunch of shit. And I was like, I don't want to hear the movie. Yes. And it was exactly like what you guys had for Empire. But I put my headphones in. I'm assuming you guys didn't have headphones to put in.
No, we did not. And I don't even remember what we did except for stand there and be super bored knowing that the adults were sitting there having steak. And
I've gone to a few midnight showings in my day, and the line waiting is so freaking boring. Nothing to do.
Oh yeah, it was really boring, especially since, once the line started moving, we thought we were going to get in.
JK, wait another 2 hours.
Then there are 10 people in front of us, and I'm sorry, it's sold out. You'll have to wait for the next one. And we're going, no.
That's so unfortunate.
But yeah, we could hear. We couldn't hear any dialogue, but we could hear explosions and score.
When we were waiting in line for Last Jedi, that was my big thing. I could hear the score, and I'm a score addict. I can relate score to scenes and to characters, so I didn't want to hear that because I could guess what was going on.
Well, we were first in line for that showing.
Yeah. But we were still right outside the door.
But we were right outside the door. Yeah.
Headphones galore during that, and luckily we didn't have to wait. We waited maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the length of the movie.
No, because we ended up we were in line for half of a showing, and then the line moved, and then we were in line for another full showing.
That's a really long time to wait.
It could have been much worse. It wasn't totally horrible.
Right.
But
I guess it's safe to say, though, that you did enjoy Empire if you saw it 3 times in theater.
Oh, very much so, because I was so into Star Wars once I saw Star Wars, and I started buying all the toys, and I got the comic books, I got books, I got magazines, Mad Magazine. I've got all of the parodies of it. Mm-hmm. I started doing all that. I started collecting the trading cards, all of which I still have. I haven't got rid of anything. In fact, there's a couple of them sitting right here.
Yes, there's a couple surrounding us right now. Alright, so I guess we'll just jump on in to the movie. Empire is always looped in as one of the best sequels of all time.
Yes.
It's when you talk about like best sequels, it's always T2 and Empire. Those are always the two because usually sequels drop down, but those two movies were better than the original.
Yes. Yeah, they were. And Empire is everybody's favorite.
Everybody's favorite. Every time someone asks me my favorite and I say that it's Return of the Jedi, they're surprised because I really do like Empire. It's super close to Jedi. I've just always liked Return of the Jedi a little bit more.
Yeah, I have no problem at all with Empire. I think it's an absolute phenomenal movie.
Yep.
But I do like Jedi a little bit more.
Yeah. Can't even imagine how
but
long
it's
that
close.
episode's gonna be.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, clearly, with Empire Strikes Back, we start on the planet Hoth, with all the snow galore, and in turn has created memes for everyone online. Anytime they get snow, they, post Star Wars memes on Hoth, because that's how Star Wars fans roll.
I did that last year. I put an Imperial Walker and did a meme saying, I'm going to the store. Anybody need anything?
Yeah, I've seen the same one with Luke on the Tauntaun. I'm gee, I'm going to the store. You guys need anything?
Yeah, actually, last year during the snow, I got out my little Tauntaun action figure with my little Han Solo wearing a blue jacket. And,
we'll get to that.
And I put him out in the snow and took pictures of him.
So you start with seeing the Imperial ship, over top of Hoth, and then the probe droid landing on Hoth.
Yes.
And then it obviously cuts to Luke and Han out in the snow, and that's basically where the movie starts, and starts to set up everything.
They're out checking the area, and they see the
He thinks it's a meteor.
He thinks it's a meteor.
Yeah, Luke thinks it's a meteor, but they're putting the sensors out.
Yeah, they're putting the sensors out.
Because the bases just got set up.
Yeah. There's
the base is
life
just
on
done.
This planet full of space cruisers. Sensors a place, I'm going back.
Yep. And so then Luke obviously goes over to investigate the said meteor, even though it's not, and then that's when he gets wampa'd.
Yeah.
Wampa'd.
Yeah. The Yeti.
the Yeti. So we rewatched Empire just to be, fully knowledgeable because we haven't seen it enough times apparently. But the whole score of this reminds me of that video game, the Shadows of the Empire. The entire score, it reminds me of the video game. I don't know if you guys played this game, but I did a lot. And so every time I hear a piece of the score in the movie, I'm all like, oh, that's the train level. Oh, that's the Hoth level. I connect it so much to that video game. It's weird.
It's a phenomenal video game because the video game takes place at the same time as Empire.
The first level is on Hoth.
You're on Hoth.
Yeah.
You're going up against the walkers. Mm-hmm. And then you have to work your way through the base and stuff after everybody's basically bugged out.
So as you said, Han goes back to the base in his blue jacket, because if you don't know, there's quite a bit of controversy on whether his jacket is brown with a blue filter over the film, or he's wearing an actual blue jacket. We think he's wearing a blue jacket.
Because Chewbacca is brown.
That's what yes.
And Han's pants are brown.
Yes. If you would have put a filter over the film, everything would have had a blue tint. Including the big hairy creature, that just doesn't make sense to me. It just looks like a blue jacket. And then, back in the day, they released 2 action figures, right?
Yeah.
One with Han in a blue jacket and one in a correction of the brown jacket.
Yeah, the one I have is a blue jacket.
Yeah, I think it's a blue jacket. And he goes up to Chewie, and, Chewie is working on the Falcon and getting everything, to go, because they're always in the potential of leaving at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to get out of there because of the bounty hunter they ran into on Ord Mantell.
Yeah. And it's kind of it's probably been a situation for a bit of, we're leaving. Oh, sure, we'll help you do this.
Yes.
We're leaving, I promise you. Okay, we'll do this. We'll stay and do this. That type of situation.
And then they get clearance to leave, and General Riken doesn't think it's safe for any ships to leave the system.
And then from there you go Han going into the command center and Leia's introduction and talking to General Riken about leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time for them to go and everything. Han saying goodbye to Leia. And then...
Don't go all mushy on me. So long, princess.
And the hallway fights. She looks so short in that damn hallway next to him.
Yes, your earnestness.
And there's, like, random shit on the hallway ground to try and give her height. Like, to try and make sure she's in the same shot as him because she's so tiny.
Yes.
And he's rather tall. My funniest thing, even when I was little, when I would watch this, like, their hallway fight, is the people that walk by them and in between them that just don't give no fucks given.
Yeah.
Oh, they're fighting again. Okay, I got work to do. I gotta go do... Excuse me. Like, it was just always super comical to me.
Not quite the stormtroopers backing away from Kylo Ren's little tantrum.
No, not quite
but
that.
It's just like, oh, here we go again.
They're going
let me
again.
through. I got
All
shit
right.
to do.
All right. And then, of course, I'd rather kiss a Wookiee.
I can arrange that.
Could use a good kiss.
I love that.
And then, so, meanwhile, Luke has been wampa'd. I'm gonna trademark that. Wampa'd. Wampa'd. And C-3PO goes to ask Han if he's seen Luke, because they were out there together. 3PO mentions that Leia was trying to talk to him.
I turned it off. I don't want to talk to her.
This is so much funny. I really like the script of Empire. I think there's a lot of really good lines.
Oh, no, there's a lot of really good lines in there. It's well written, and it's very well directed. Irvin Kershner did an amazing job.
Yeah, he did so good.
Yeah, it was kind of nice that George Lucas backed off of the directing and let Irvin Kershner, who was a former teacher, a film school teacher of George Lucas, and I think he did a great job.
Yeah, he did a really good job. And I think it's the combination of, like, obviously his really good directing, good script, and then, of course, I have no issues with anybody's acting. Everyone does so good and they interact really good with each other and everything. Everyone's just pretty great in this. And so then Han covers 3PO's mouth because, he's talking. These little bits just crack me up, especially with Han and 3PO. They're so funny.
There's a lot
of them.
Yeah.
And, you can't tell me that a lot of people don't feel the same way that Han feels. And then so Han goes to investigate essentially where Luke is because he hasn't come back yet, and he checks the other entrance to see if he's come through there and everything, and then that's when Han goes out to look for him.
Yeah. Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell. Yeah!
This is another example that Han's a good buddy.
Oh, I know.
He's not like, he tries to play like the asshole, I don't care about anybody type of thing, but he gonna go out and risk his life in the freezing cold to go look for Luke.
Yeah, because at one point he says, that's right, and my friend's out in it.
Yeah, exactly. And then so we go to the Wampa Cave where Luke is hanging upside down and reaching for the lightsaber and all that fun stuff. The Wampa loses his arm.
Yes. You get to see the Force being telekinetic, where he draws the saber into his hand.
And everyone connects that scene to Force Awakens.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's the shot they were going for at the end of Force Awakens.
In Force Awakens, the saber's in the snow at the same angle.
Yeah, it was so planned that way, because that's
same
exactly...
Saber, same angle.
Yes. A lot of people actually thought that was when Luke was going to pop up in Force Awakens. Mark Hamill thought that's when he was going to pop up. Like, oh, it's moving, it's going to be hit. Oh, it's Rey.
Although in Force Awakens, the way it's drawing towards Kylo Ren and then takes a turn over to Rey, that was pretty epic. I like that.
We'll get to that once we get to Force Awakens, of course.
But with the Wampa, they added scenes in the special editions.
Yes, I did forget to mention, we were watching the special edition, the Blu-ray edition, when we rewatched recently.
And originally they didn't show a lot of the Wampa, and in the special edition they added more, which...
Like the whole, creature, or...
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
You never really saw him sitting there eating.
Oh, wow. They've added quite a bit then.
It was more of a, parts of him here, parts of him there.
Which is more creepy when you don't. It's like you don't know what the creature is.
It was more scary, because you don't see the whole thing.
Did you see, the full arm being chopped off?
Yes, you saw the arm but you didn't see him raise up, holding
grabbing
it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You just...
Oh, now that you say that, I think I do.
He kind of comes at the camera, and then you hear the... and the arm falls, and then Luke runs out.
I guess that's true. Now that you say that, I totally remember that version. But for the last couple of years, all I've been watching is the special edition, because I have the Blu-ray, and I don't really put the VHS tapes in or anything like that. And then, of course, we have Luke running down the snowy mountain, where the filming behind the scenes of that is literally everyone is inside a hotel room filming outside
the hotel hallway.
The hotel hallway.
The doorway opened up to the back of the hotel.
And so everyone's in the warmth. And they're like, all right, Mark Hamill, go out there and run in the snow. Run down the hill in the blizzard.
Yes.
So now every time I see that scene, all I think about is everyone is all warm and cozy and Mark Hamill's tumbling down the snow.
That's kind of the out in the woods is really next to a parking lot.
Yes, it's all about that certain angle, movie magic, where it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere when you're actually outside a hotel.
Yeah, it was just snowing too hard that day, and they really wanted to get that filmed, so they said, well, let's just set the cameras up in here, we'll shoot out the back, and...
Yeah.
Mark,
I mean, it makes for a good scene.
I mean, it was a great scene.
It looks great, it's comical when you know the behind the scenes of it. And then it goes back to the base with 3PO and R2 trying to, like, run his sensor to see if he can see anything, and Luke... still wandering in the snow, Han's out looking for him, and then it's to the point where on the base they have to close the doors because
it's getting too cold.
It's getting too cold. Like everyone, you have to take in the entire rebellion's safety. We have to shut the doors.
The good of the many.
This is a Star Wars podcast.
I didn't finish
You
it.
were going to do it. Stop doing the Star Trek quotes. I knew what you were gonna do.
I was trying to sneak it in.
You will then do a line I don't know. Come on now. I'm not a Star Trek expert, but I know some of those. Oh my gosh. But anyway, I love, even though it's like really sad when the doors close, I really enjoy that part with like Chewbacca's like super depressed and Leia doesn't look thrilled because essentially her like two best friends are dead. We don't know. Sucks to be her, you know, because she hasn't lost enough at this point. And then 3PO just making everything worse.
Quoting the odds.
Yeah, they're gonna die. Here, let me tell you the odds on the fact that they're gonna die. It's like, bro.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, and then we go back to Luke in the snow, like falling over, and then that's when we get to see Ben, Obi-Wan.
You will go to the Dagobah system.
Mm-hmm. With his short beard.
Yes, yes.
Alec Guinness didn't want to grow his beard back. Alec Guinness didn't want to come back. So, you know, we're lucky he came back.
George Lucas did some major ass kissing
Yes.
to get him to come back.
Because Alec Guinness is quite the actor.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of people just relate him to Star Wars, so it's kind of understandable why.
A certain generation only relates him to Star Wars.
And he's a big deal. He's a big deal. Mark Hamill's done so many interviews about that, and like, no, you guys, like, especially for the younger generations, you don't understand. This was like Alec Guinness. This was the big deal to be on set with him.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. And then we were debating when we were watching if Obi-Wan led Han to Luke in the snow, or if Luke did it unintentionally with the Force.
It could have been either one.
Because it's a snowy ice planet, and Han just happens to stumble upon Luke half snowed over.
And he rides right through the apparition
Yes.
of Obi-Wan.
It could be either one. It's... Because it's like you question like if Obi-Wan would be able to do that as a Force Ghost, but then these days, Force Ghosts can do whatever the hell they want, so it's
they
like...
can bring lightning down on a tree.
Yeah, so it's like, you don't know. And then Luke could have just unintentionally been doing it.
Yeah.
Or something or other. Because it wasn't Han, because Han is not Force sensitive.
No, it's all a bunch of mumbo-jumbo.
That's not how the Force works.
It's all real.
And then it goes to probably one of the more popular scenes in Empire, when we cut the Tauntaun open.
Yes.
Because, like, it's like they did it on Mythbusters to see if it would work.
Yep.
People talk about it all the time, and, like, sticking Luke's body in the warmth and everything, and they proved on Mythbusters that that would work.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, they used biology professors and animal experts to try to estimate what the body temperature would be of a tauntaun, you know, since it's not a real creature, by using creatures on Earth. And they did it, and it proved that it would keep you warm.
Yep, especially long enough for him to get the shelter up. And we were also saying that that was a trivia question for the longest time. What non-Force user has used a lightsaber or whatever? And it was always, the answer was always Han for that scene, but now it's changed because so many other people that are not Jedis have used a lightsaber these days. So now it's how about in the original trilogy?
Yes.
Because it doesn't work anymore.
And I read the novelization of Empire also, and of course this time I saw the movie before I read it.
Right.
And I always liked it when Han fires up the lightsaber. There's a little bit in there about saying how it felt funny in his hand, the way it moved, and
you kind of actually get that if you watch it carefully with how Harrison played it.
Yeah,
he looks like it's awkward.
Yeah, he's kind of like trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
you know?
How to properly hold it. Yeah, so it would feel weird, especially if you'd never picked it. It's not like just a sword.
No.
I mean, it would feel odd. Even if you knew how to use a sword, it would feel odd. And then, of course, for that scene, we have the, I thought they smelt bad on the outside.
Yes, yeah.
Jumping to the next morning, when they're, like, searching for them to see if they're frozen bits, popsicles, or not.
They finally get the snow speeders adapted for the cold.
Nice timing.
Yeah. And you get the sequel to Jyn Erso. Rogue 2.
Rogue 2 is out there looking for him. Yeah.
Echo Base, this is Rogue 2. I found them. Repeat, I found them.
I like the morning. Nice of you guys to stop by.
I use that all the time. People at work. Nice of you to drop by. I use that all the time.
Exactly. And then this is like the first look where you get to see like a Bacta tank. It's like Bacta and like Bacta tanks are in so many more things in these days, either in comics or all this stuff, but this was like the first introduction to it where you get to see Luke in the Bacta tank.
Diaper Luke in tank.
Diaper Luke, yeah. Mark Hamill had to take scuba diving lessons to do 2 seconds of a scene.
It's quick.
There is a deleted scene where it's a little longer. It's not, I mean, it's just Han and Leia looking at him, but it's a longer scene. But still, it's like literally like 2 seconds, and he had to take specific classes to do that.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And then we're in the med center with Luke and Han coming in to check on Luke and all that.
You don't look so bad to me. You
All
look
that
strong
jazz.
enough to pull the ears off a Gundark.
Yes.
That's 2 you owe me, Junior.
Yep. And then, as you were saying, General Riken saying that no one could leave because it's not safe anymore, so Han has to stick around.
I think you just can't bear to let a gorgeous guy like me out of your sight.
Their reaction, like, everyone in this scene is so good because Han is just being, like, a cocky smartass. Leia is so over it and, like, rolling her eyes and everything. Chewie's, like, just, like, it's like he's enjoying the show.
Yeah.
Like, between everybody.
I don't know where you get your delusions,
Laser
brain.
brain,
And then
yeah.
Chewbacca
Yeah.
laughs.
And then there, like, the one scene when Luke rolls his eyes, like, dramatically. His head rolls, his eyes roll as Han is, like, saying stuff to Leia. It's so freaking hilarious.
And again, Peter Mayhew looks amazing.
Oh, yeah,
in
his
that.
reaction shots and his eyes.
His eyes
They're
look
so good.
great. He is so good as Chewbacca.
Stuck up, half-witted nerf herder.
Scruffy looking nerf herder.
Yeah, that one.
Who's scruffy looking?
So good. And then, of course, you have the fantastic and lovely Luke and Leia kiss.
Yes.
Don't do it! Don't do it! And then Luke's all proud, and it's like, looking back, it's like, bro, don't be proud. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there should have been some R2-D2
You know,
comments in the back, because
R2
he's the only
should've.
one that knows what's going on.
It's so funny. So many people, like when 3PO comes forward as they're kissing, they're like, oh, 3PO knows. It's like, no, he does not. Bail wiped his mind.
Yes.
He doesn't know shit.
He has no idea.
Can you
R2
imagine
is the only
3PO
one.
knowing those secrets? The entire galaxy would have known.
Yes.
That was
yes.
not a good idea.
Yeah. He would have told the Jawas. He
He
would have told everybody.
And then we're back in the command center, and we're, like, hearing the beeping because something is on the planet, because
The
Luke,
sensors picked up
Yeah,
something.
and Luke
something
never
in
got-
Zone 12 moving east.
Luke never got to go check out the not meteor.
Right.
He didn't get to that point, so...
Man.
Yes, exactly. And Han and Chewie going to go check it out, and ending up blowing it up, essentially.
Yeah. Using Chewie as the
bait, yeah.
decoy so Han can blast it.
Blast it up.
I didn't hit it that hard. It must have had a self-destruct.
Yep. And then that's when they know that the Empire knows that they're there, and they start the evacuation. On the base they just finished putting together.
Yeah. See, The whole idea of setting up the command center has always got me. And they did it again in The Last Jedi, you know. You have this command center set up. Jesus, leave the command center on a ship.
That seems logical.
You know, have the cargo area of a ship to be your command center. That way, if you got to bug out,
you don't have to load everything.
You don't have to load everything. Because how much stuff did they have to leave behind?
Oh, so much.
When Vader comes walking through there with the snowtroopers, there's tons of equipment still there.
Yes,
so
exactly.
So every time they have to bug out, they have to leave equipment. And then they have to reacquire it, and it makes it very difficult. So that's my biggest thing about that is leave it on a ship. So
I just can't imagine like starting over and over again. And it's still happening today.
No, they're doing it again today.
It's still happening.
There's only enough left to fit on the Falcon.
I know, right? Now the Falcon can be the... And so then it goes back to the Empire, and I believe that's then Vader's introduction to the movie. After they're going to be evacuating. I think they show Vader on the ship. Yeah. I think that's his introduction for Empire.
You found something?
And, yeah, it's the Imperial officer, Hitler. Yeah. From Last Crusade.
Admiral Hitler.
And the other guy, Walter Donovan from Last Crusade.
Yes.
Both of them. Last Crusade's my favorite Indiana Jones movie, guys. So every time I see them together, all I think about is the guy that played Hitler and the guy from Last Crusade.
You have chosen poorly.
Yeah, that guy. That's all I think about.
Do I need to pull my head thing down?
No, don't pull your head thing down. You're not a knight. And I'm sure Skywalker is with them. So that's like the confirmation that Vader knows who Luke is.
That's it. The rebels are there, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them. Mm-hmm. Set your course for the Hoth system. General Veers, prepare your men.
So I guess it wouldn't have really, like, towards the beginning of the movie, it wouldn't have mattered. But after you see it, the end, and you find out who Vader is, it's like almost that question of how he found out that was his son. But they filled in that gap now.
Yes.
In the comics, supposedly, Vader hired Boba Fett to figure out more about the dude that blew up the Death Star and found out that it was Luke Skywalker. And, like, Vader flashes back to Padme and shit like that. So that's supposedly how Vader found out who Luke was. And that his last name was Skywalker.
There was nothing back in the day.
Yeah,
in between
they filled in so many gaps.
And, I mean, I read all the comic books back then. This put out by Marvel. And, you know, there was never anything about how he found out it was Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. You know, but it just all of a sudden he, like, knew it.
Yeah. In the space between the end of New Hope and the start of Empire. And then, of course, we're back to trying to fix the Falcon again as we're evacuating.
No, this goes here and that goes there.
What a horrible time to take your ship apart.
You're tearing this apart. I'm trying to get us out of here. Put it back together.
I can't even begin to imagine the anxiety of trying to get your ship back together.
Oh, no.
As, like, everyone's evacuating. We have to leave now. The Empire's coming. You better get your ship back together.
Oh, that would be horrible.
Oh, I wouldn't like it. No. No, thank you.
Because I feel I wouldn't want to leave my vehicle.
Yeah.
You know.
Let alone, like, that's like his house.
I would want to take my vehicle with me, so I understand Han wanted to take the Falcon and get out of there. So it would be kind of stressful.
Extremely stressful. And then I realized it this last time we watched it. And, like, you obviously get Luke and Chewie hugging goodbye, and then you get Luke and Han's goodbye. And, like, it dawned on me that that's, like, the last time they see each other for quite some time.
Till Jedi.
Till Han's out of the carbonite.
Yeah.
So, if you think
the next time Luke sees Han, it's a frozen block.
Yeah. So if you think about Han's reaction, like, jumping to Return of the Jedi, but that Luke's in charge of this whole plan... The last time he saw him, this was not like the Luke he's imagining.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm out of it for a while. Everyone gets delusions of grandeur.
It dawned on me that was, like, literally the last time, because he's gonna go off, and they're separated the rest of the time.
Yeah.
I didn't really... If you think about it, for the original trilogy, especially the sequel trilogy now, Luke is not with Han and Leia that often.
No.
It's like they're off on their own and Luke is doing something else. Because even in Return of the Jedi, where all three of them are together again a little bit, eventually Luke leaves.
Yeah, he goes and leaves to confront Vader.
And that's what all of Empire is. they're completely separated the whole time. So
Yeah, they are.
we should have known. We should have known. They predicted this in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
That Luke was gonna be all on his lonesome. Poor Luke.
Well, he is a Jedi. They do
do
run
that.
away.
We go to Vader in his little puzzle piece of a room. Do we have a name for that? His little throne thing?
It's like a meditation chamber.
Looks like a puzzle piece.
There's another name for it. I can't think of what it is because he can take the helmet off in there.
Yeah. It's something
Like
where
a
he would when he would
chamber or something.
For when he would be away from Mustafar.
Yeah.
So then we're preparing for the surface attack, and we have Vader choking out the Admiral through the Skype.
The TV.
The Skype.
Yeah.
The Skype session.
Skype.
Force Skype. Yes, that's what it was. And the new guy gets the promotion, and he looks concerned.
Yes.
As, like, literally the guy is, like, choking out next to him, and he's all like, yeah, thank you so much, as his eyes are, like, darting
He's, like, looking off to the side as Admiral Ozzel's choking out.
Don't work for bad guys. It's a very simple thing.
It's the quickest way to promotion, to work in the Empire, and the quickest way to die.
Exactly, you want to be promoted, and then, like, 2 seconds later, oh, sorry, Vader killed you.
And General Veers does kind of narc on him a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
He does. Well, Admiral Ozzel thought it'd be better to come out closer to him. He's as clumsy as he is stupid.
Yeah. And then we're back on the base, and, like, Leia's, like, speech and everything of getting all the pilots ready to go.
Yeah, briefing
everybody.
The X-Wing pilots on who's going to escort what and how, 2 fighters per transport.
Mm-hmm. I always really liked this scene, too. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the way that it's filmed or just, it's interesting because... I don't know, maybe it's because I like Leia so much, but you have, like, all of these, like, really tall guys around, and they're all taking, like, the orders from the little princess in the middle.
Yes.
And I didn't know for the longest time, I had to read it on a blog, that you can see Han off in the distance during this.
I know, you told me about that. I never noticed. I would always pay attention to the pilots and Leia.
And Leia, that's always.
I never looked back.
But if you look, you can see the Falcon in the background, and he's standing on top of the Falcon, like, welding something. And then, like, he'll stop and look over and watch, and then he'll go back to work, and then he'll, like, stop again and look over.
I see, that's more great directing, that you got something major like that going on, and it's just in the background.
It's in the background. Yeah, it's definitely good directing on that, and I didn't even notice it for the longest time. I do always think about this scene, though. There is behind-scene footage for that filming part, where Carrie walks right into a pole after filming that briefing. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh my god. She's talking to, like, the director, and then she, like, goes to turn, and there's a pole, and she clocks her forehead right on the pole.
Well, one of my favorite behind-the-scene photos ever taken was taken in that set there. And that's the one of Chewbacca grabbing Princess Leia's boob.
There are so many. I don't know if they had, like...
The look on her face... And Chewie's got this
it's
big
so funny.
Going on. It's just a hilarious picture.
There's some with Carrie and 3PO too that are really funny. There's
a lot of behind the scenes.
That's what I was gonna
candid
say.
Photos.
I don't know if
Empire.
they specifically had, like, a photographer on set, but there are so many candids from, like, behind the scenes getting costumes on, from filming this, but it's like a behind the scene. Like, there are so many, and they're actually some of my favorite Star Wars photos.
Yeah, I like the one of Han and Leia on the ramp of the Falcon.
Yeah.
Where it looks like they're dancing.
Yes, there's some silly ones. There's
great picture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great behind the scenes pictures from Empire.
I'd be curious to know who took those, because there's just so many, and you don't have that with any of the other ones.
Yeah.
It was just, there's so many specific ones for that, and a lot of them are black and white.
Black and white, and they look great.
They're
beautiful. Great photos.
Yeah. And then so we got the, like, ground preparations going, and you get the AT-ATs in sight.
Yeah.
And all that. The AT-ATs.
No. AT-AT.
We call them AT-ATs. Some people call them AT-ATs.
I do not call them AT-ATs. I
AT-ATs.
do not like calling them AT-ATs. And I know, like with a military Hummer, it's a Humvee, and they just nickname it a Hummer, so I understand why people call it an AT-AT. But then if you have the chicken walker that is an AT-ST, do you call it an ATST?
ATST. 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 It sounds like you have a stutter.
Yeah.
ATST.
Yeah, so I've always just called them AT-AT. All-terrain armored transport.
Yeah, there you go. And so then, of course, you have, like, the speeders lifting up in the hangar, and you told me a fact about when we were watching it recently about how they lifted them for the shots.
The one it was on a forklift, and so they kept the forklift out of view, but the forks were under it, so they lifted it up and they started moving it forward as the forklift just drove forward to give the appearance of levitating and then starting to move forward. It's a great effect.
Yeah, I mean, it works because it looks like it's lifting.
It looks real.
So we're like outside going up against the AT-ATs, with like Luke and like the tow cables and the walkers and all that fun stuff. And I always thought it was funny, the little hollow of Vader in the AT-AT. With his hands on his hips. He looks, I can't take it seriously.
No, I've listened to several podcasts of people talking about Star Wars, and because I am a huge podcast listener, and that scene makes people laugh.
It makes me laugh too, because especially the hands on the hips.
Hands on the hips, everybody thinks it looks totally ridiculous.
It's like, oh, look at the little tiny baby Vader, like he got shrunk. Like, it's comical.
Yeah, but he could probably force Skype through that too and choke you out.
This is true. He probably could. Force Skype. That's going to be a term now.
Force time and force Skype.
Yeah, there you go. And then for the rest of that, like battle and everything, you have like Wedge going in for the shot.
Yeah.
And
because Luke loses Dak.
Yeah.
And the
crashes.
Blu-ray took out the line. I feel like I could take on the Empire all by myself. And Luke saying, "I know what you mean."
It's so hit and miss.
We actually backed it up because I go, "Where's that line at?"
Yeah. Which is weird because I thought that it was in there. Because when you said that and when we backed it up, I was like, no, I think it's in there. I remember that line. Nope. Not on the Blu-ray cut.
No. And I don't understand that, because that's actually kind of a cool line, because Luke kind of did take on the Empire by himself by blowing up the Death Star.
Some of the edits make sense to me, and some of them just don't. It's very hit and miss with the special edition.
Yeah, there's a line deleted off of Dagobah later.
That's the same type of thing. It's kind of odd. And then we have, what did you say his name was? Hobby? Was that one of the pilots? Hobby?
Yeah.
And like him blowing up.
Yeah.
And then Luke crashing and almost getting stepped on.
Yes.
As he's like trying to grab his shit and get the hell out before the AT-AT steps on the whole freaking snowspeeder. Yeah. No, thank you. There's like a lot of anxiety. I can't handle space dramas apparently.
Yeah, but that by having Wedge be the first one to take down, it cements Wedge in there as a great background character who makes it through Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why he's rogue leader in Jedi.
Yep. And too bad he wasn't in Force Awakens.
Oh, he should have been in Force Awakens.
He was
the character
in the
Wedge was in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
So was Hobby.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. So then we have probably one of my favorite parts in Empire, and that's when Han's like heading to the command center.
Yeah.
Because like the command center's been hit, and he's like trying to see if like Leia's still there or whatever. I'm like a huge Han and Leia shipper, so that's like cute stuff and everything, but that's not why I like this scene. I like it because he like walks in and what are you still doing here? And all that.
You got your clearance to leave. Don't worry, I'll leave.
And he makes it all the way over to her, climbing over all the shit that's knocked over, the snow and everything, gets right to her. She turns around and runs the other way because she got shit to do. And the look on his face is so comical. So the whole scene of Han like trying to get Leia out of the command center is like one of my favorites. And I don't know if it's like their interaction or just how it all is. Like he's like seriously like, no girl, we gotta get the fuck out of here. It's time to go.
Oh no, and she says, you've got your clearance to leave. And he says, don't worry, I'll leave, but first we're going to get you to your ship.
Perfect another example. Him going out to get Luke, going to make sure Leia's okay. Yeah. He's not a jackass.
No, this is the character development. Changing from the guy who shot Greedo.
Yes.
You know, he's starting to care.
Yes. That's why it will be super interesting, the version we get in Solo. If it will fuck up anything.
It needs to be the reckless Han Solo.
Yeah.
And
like the young kid that makes mistakes. I feel like that's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
But time will tell. Yeah. We don't got no fucking second trailer or anything.
I just need him to rescue Chewie from the Empire.
There's a lot of things we need from the Solo. And once the Solo movie comes out, we'll do a podcast on that too. But we're trying to work our way through the series.
Yeah, new movies we can do
Yes.
when they come out.
But God help us when we get to Phantom Menace. And so then we go to Luke attaching to the underside of the AT-AT and like opening it up with his lightsaber.
Yes.
Which I always like that part just because it's like, okay, well, the speeder's down. How do I get like up? I have a lightsaber that can probably cut through this. You know what I mean?
And plus the undercarriage wouldn't be as armored.
Yeah,
because you're not going to come from underneath and shoot it with
exactly.
the more powerful turbo laser like a snowspeeder would have.
Exactly, yeah. So I just always liked kind of like that adaptation, like figuring out a different way to take it down. Because then you don't have your speeder
using
anymore.
The magnetic grappling hook and Batman style cable gun.
Yes, exactly. And so then we're back to Han and Leia like running through the hallway, and it's always funny like when Leia passes him in the hallway, and then he like tries to run and catch up. It's like all of this whole part of them in the base is like my favorite part.
I love all of the Han and Leia in the hallway, from the fight in the beginning to this.
No,
it's
literally
great.
all of the stuff of them on the base is so good. It's so comical, but it's like it's really good at the same time. And then of course like 3PO trying to catch up with them because I can't imagine running in that outfit is very easy.
No,
for Anthony Daniels.
But yeah, they run into the cave. The hallway caves in, and
yes, and
transport this Solo. Better take off. I can't get to you. I'll get her out on the Falcon.
Yep, I love all of that part.
And then they turn around and run by 3PO, and he's like,
"Where
are you going?
What the fuck were you going?
Hurry up, Goldenrod! You're gonna be a permanent resident."
Exactly. That whole bit is just fantastic, and Chewie's like screaming at them, like, "Get
come
the fuck
on,
out!"
Come on!
All of it's really good. And then it kind of switches because like Leia ran past Han in the hallway to go, and then when they're going up the ramp, Han runs past her to get up into the ship because he's got like shit to do. He's the pilot.
Yeah, they got shit to do. They got to get this thing fired up and get out of there.
Exactly. And then it would help if I got out and pushed.
It might.
Oh, and then the Falcon shoots like at the troopers and everything as they're trying to get.
Yeah, the little gun pops down under the cockpit, and I love that.
And literally, the ship takes off like just in time.
When he goes to start it up, he turns it on, and it goes.
Yeah, there's
and he goes bam.
Yes, exactly. This bucket of bolts is never going to get us past his blockade. It's like a tongue twister.
Well, there's that transport this Solo is, if you don't think about it real hard when you're saying it, it is a tongue twister trying to say it.
There's this interview of Carrie on set of Empire, and she's like, "It's very early in the morning to say these. This bucket of bolts is going to
never going to get us past that blockade."
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like they said. You can type this shit, but you can't say it.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
You seriously have to give it up to these actors that were able to not only, like, say these lines and make it believable, but there's, like, a bunch of stuff that, like, you don't know what it means. Like, some of the, like, in Leia's speech, or, like, briefing to the pilots and stuff, there's some stuff in that, like, you don't know what it means, because, like, the Star Wars universe is new, and it's, like, this new sci-fi terminology that doesn't mean anything. Right. So you just have to make it sound like it's actually something.
Yeah. You know, the bounty hunter we ran into on Ord Mantell. You know, what was Ord Mantell? Nobody knew. No. Now everybody's in books, it's in comics, it's in games, it's
everything.
all over the place. You know, so yeah, back then when you're first saying those things, it is.
You just have to seriously make it believable.
Yeah, you do.
And then we pretty much agreed that one of our favorite parts for Empire is when the Falcon shoots out and Luke sees that the Falcon gets away.
Yeah, he's hiking through the snow trying to get to the X-Wings, and you hear it.
Yes.
And he turns his head, and you see the Falcon going, and you just imagine, you can't really see it on his face, but you can just imagine the relief of, yes, Han and Chewie got out.
Yeah, my friends got out. Like, that's like, you know, obviously he doesn't know Leia's with them. Right. But, like, it's just that relief of, okay, good, they're taken care of, I'm gonna go to my ship now, type of thing.
Because I ain't going to the rendezvous.
Yeah, he not. R2 and him leave, and they head on down to the Dagobah system. Yeah. And then almost immediately, like, the Empire is chasing the Falcon.
Yeah. Well, we get the ion cannon. I love the ion cannon.
I didn't mention the ion cannon. As, like, everyone is leaving, and everyone's evacuating.
And I never really understood what the ion cannon was back in the day. I didn't realize it was an electromagnetic pulse that would shut down a lot of the electrical systems in the Star Destroyer, allowing the transport and the escort to get by.
Yeah.
I actually really, really enjoyed that, which your question in Last Jedi was, is ion cannon outdated?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I did say that when we saw Last Jedi, I was like, why didn't this is like Empire. Why didn't they use the ion cannon?
Yeah, I wouldn't think a weapon like that would,
unless they have like a shield or something that stops that.
The electromagnetic pulse is a real thing in our world.
Yeah.
But they have certain military vehicles, and they will shut down. The electromagnetic pulse will shut down cars, phones.
Yeah, that's
everything.
kind of the point.
But there's a lot of military technology that is shielded against EMP. So it's possible by the time you get to Last Jedi,
it's not
the
a thing
First
anymore.
Order is shielded against ion attack.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. Because I had mentioned in that one about the Rogue One using the ion torpedoes.
Yes.
But that takes place before Empire.
Yes, exactly.
So that is old original trilogy time.
But I do like seeing that and kind of seeing the ships start to drop a little bit because, and then like obviously the transport like taking off and everything.
The first transport is away.
And then as you always say, why don't we just evacuate from a different side of the planet?
The blockade looks like it's on one side of the planet.
This? Star Wars always does this. It doesn't matter. It's like one side of the planet and it's okay, just move around to the opposite side. So if like we're in America, go evacuate from Europe. Like I don't understand.
Every time they show a blockade, and they do this on Rebels too.
It's all of Star Wars.
All of Star Wars. The blockade is on one side of the planet. It's like over the main part. And I'm just like, well, skim the surface, go around the backside, and go that way.
Go that way instead. It's an odd Star Wars thing, but at least they're consistent. It does it in everything.
They do it in everything.
So then obviously back to like the Empire chasing the Falcon like almost immediately after their...
And the way I take that is Vader wanted the Falcon because he figured catching the Falcon would be bait for Luke. He wanted Luke.
Yeah, I mean, there had to have been some sort of orders immediately to make them immediately start going after. Instead of, like, okay, I almost said the Resistance, the Rebellion went this way, but they're going this way.
Yeah.
It had to have been some sort of order or whatever. And then you do have the two, the Empire ships hitting each other.
Yeah, the two Star Destroyers.
Who's piloting? Who's piloting?
I don't know, but those guys, they must have had something down at the bar before they came on duty. Because how do you run into each other?
Exactly. And then another couple good lines that I really like is the "Watch this" on the Falcon.
Oh,
Watch
yeah?
what?
Watch this.
I think we're in trouble.
Sir, I noticed the hyperdrive motivator has been damaged. It's impossible to go to light speed. We're in trouble.
Yes, meanwhile, like, literally the Empire is, like, right behind them. You might want to jump to light speed or something.
And then you get Han and Chewie going back and working on
Once
it.
again, trying to fix the Falcon.
And Han's, like, flipping around
yes,
on the bar, under the decks. And, bring me the hydro spanners. And when Chewie sets it down, it's set down halfway over the thing. You know what's going to happen. Because when the asteroid hits it, it goes,
kaboom!
Boom! Ow!
Chewie! See, it's like action packed. They're running away from the Empire, but it's freaking hilarious at the same time.
Oh, it's great. And then, Han, get up here, and come on, Chewie.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't a laser blast. Something hit us.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously they fly into the asteroid field, and you don't have to do this to impress me. That's more anxiety. I can't handle this crap. I don't want to fly into an asteroid field.
And 3PO saying the odds again. Never tell me the odds.
Exactly. That's like such a popular line now.
But that's where the video game Asteroids came from. Because you had a triangle ship shooting asteroids. Oh. And in the one scene you see Star Destroyers shooting the asteroids out of their way.
Interesting.
And every time I see that, I think, oh, asteroids! I need to put a quarter on the glass.
There you go. What were we watching the other day where I said it looked like Galaga? I don't remember.
Something.
We were watching something that looked like Galaga. And then, of course,
it wasn't Avengers. That man is playing Galaga.
I thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
And
then obviously they go into towards a big asteroid and they hide out inside one, which is actually a pretty brilliant idea when you think about it. If you're hiding in an asteroid field,
yes,
instead of trying to dodge everything, you might as well hide out for a bit.
Yeah, hopefully they get bored and leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Till you find out what you actually parked in.
But before that, we go back to Luke. It goes back and forth. I was noticing a lot in Empire. It's like Luke Han and Leia, back and forth. So we go to crashing onto Dagobah.
Mm-hmm.
What a lovely planet. And I was a little curious when watching it this recent time, when like they said that there's like scans of like life forms.
Yeah, massive life form readings though.
So these
no cities
days,
or technology, but massive life form readings.
Yeah. So these days, granted, there's quite a few different animals on Dagobah, but these days, like everyone says, that Dagobah is like such a force planet. Is that what they were detecting?
It could be.
Because that's what everybody says. Like it's one of the more forcey. It's a force sensitive planet. I don't know. I just thought about that when we watched it recently.
Where I grew up, we had this big wooded area by our house, and there was a creek that ran through the bottom of it, and some crews came in and dug out a bunch of the area to control flooding, and when they got done, that whole area looked like Dagobah. So if you ask any of my friends from back in the day about Dagobah,
there you go,
they'll know exactly what you're talking about, because that was an area we used to play all the time.
I've always thought that as they're like crashing, like once they actually crash, like it sounds like R2 is saying, "Are you okay?" over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny. Then you like R2 like falling in and like falling into the water.
Yeah.
And then like popping up and like humming and singing.
Yeah, that's so funny.
R2 is like
R2,
a droid and has
that way.
He is such a character.
Oh, thank you.
It's
you
so
hear
funny. It's so funny. And then obviously Luke jumps into the water.
Yeah.
Ew! Jump to the land, bro! No way!
What I would have done, the nose is sticking out in front of the ship. Walk down the nose.
No, if he just
then
sploosh, and it's like...
splooshes right down in, and especially after something eats R2.
He potentially eats R2 and then, like, spits him out.
Yeah.
And then that is the line change.
Yeah.
One of the line changes. Is it a special edition change, or did it change before that?
Well, there's all kinds of...
edits
of it, and originally it said it's a good thing you didn't taste very good.
Yeah, and now it's you were lucky to get out of there.
Yeah.
Different little edits. So I guess like technically if Luke jumped into the water, he knows how to swim, even though
he grew up on a desert planet.
Yeah. So when Rey falls into the water and can swim, it doesn't matter because she's from Jakku.
Oh, that's true.
I didn't think about that.
But see, Luke had training in the bacta tank.
Oh yeah, all 2 seconds of it.
It would be kind of hard to learn how to swim on Tatooine or Jakku.
Yeah. Back to Vader. This is like when you get to see the back of his scarred head in the little puzzle piece throne thing.
Meditation chamber.
Funny enough, I've always thought that the back of his head looks like an ice cream cone.
Mm-mm.
Watch it next time. See if it looks like an ice cream cone.
Yummy.
Yeah, super delicious.
And they put that in because there was a lot of people back in the day that were talking, and we didn't have the internet back then. We had Starlog magazine, but there were all kinds of people that were saying, "Is Vader a robot? Is he just a droid?"
Yeah.
And Lucas wanted to show, no, there's a dude in there. A very scarred up dude. And the stories came out that he fell into a lava pit in a lightsaber battle with Obi-Wan, and so that is why I was so anxiously awaiting Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I
wanted to see it.
And it's a nice way that it was like so brief that like leaves you questioning, like, okay, that's the back of a dude's head, and it's really fucked up, and then like the scene just continues. Like it's just that brief little bit.
Yeah, it's just tiny as you see the helmet lowering down.
Yep. As the dude from Last Crusade walks in.
Yes. That's all I see now.
That's all I see too.
I didn't think about it when I saw Last Crusade that was General Veers.
Yeah.
But now every time I watch Empire, I always think
guy.
of Last Crusade.
And then jumping back onto the Falcon, and they're still hiding. It's quite possible this asteroid is not entirely stable.
Not entirely stable. I'm glad you're here to tell us these things. Chewie, take the professor in the back and plug him into the hyperdrive.
And then there's this more really good interaction between Harrison and Carrie. It's so funny. It's so good. Like when it bumps and she falls into his arms, and she just looks so irritated, and he's just like super smart ass.
And he's like, shh, shh. And she's, Hey, what? Don't get excited. Captain, being held by you isn't quite enough to get me excited. Good, we haven't got time for anything else.
And the look on her face is just like, yeah, this is the shit I deal with. This is the shit I deal with.
She is so pissed off.
But it's so funny.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Oh, and then it jumps again, back to Dagobah. I seriously noticed this when we were watching it last time. It's just like back and forth, all chopped up and everything. Which further questions exactly how long the trip to Bespin was, how long he was on Dagobah. With how it's edited, it makes it look like it's a bit of time.
Yeah, that whole thing is highly debated on how long it takes. Yeah. One of the podcasts I listen to, one of the guys says, well, how long was Luke actually on Dagobah? And he goes, oh, about 45 minutes. Because that's the runtime in the movie.
Exactly.
And the host just busted out laughing because he realized what the guy said.
In a lot of the, being a Han and Leia fan, a lot of the Han and Leia like blogs or discussions or things like that, a lot of people say the trip to Bespin was like 30 days.
Which makes sense because they're traveling great distances without their hyperdrive.
Yeah, exactly. And then that makes it, when you compare it to Luke, a month of training is a little bit better than a nothing.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little bit more logical. So then when we're on Dagobah, it's like the little campsite. And like, feel like we're being watched. And it's Yoda's introduction! Senile Yoda.
I am wondering, why are you here?
My favorite Yoda is Senile Yoda. He's crazy. I love him. He's amazing in Empire.
Away put your weapons. I mean you no harm.
And unfortunately, all we can think of now is that stupid fucking Seagull song.
Rockin' and rollin'.
If you guys don't know the Seagull song, you have to look it up. It's a parody, and there's this part where...
Bad Lip Reading.
Bad Lip Reading, yes, that channel does it. And, oh my gosh, there's a part where Yoda, like, walks, but it looks like he's dancing now. Because that's what it is in that song.
He's dancing in the song.
Oh, that's all I can see.
It is so funny.
But this whole bit with Yoda and Luke is so funny. Because I love senile Yoda, but the lines are great, and Luke is just, like, really over it. Like, how'd you get so big eating
food of this kind?
Yes. Or like Yoda throwing like his shit everywhere. Don't do that.
Pulling out the flashlight.
Yes, exactly. And like R2 and him.
Mine. I'll help you not.
Fight over it. Yes, that's funny. And then obviously Yoda, you seek Yoda.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like, oh wait.
Yeah, I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master. Oh, Jedi Master. Yoda. You seek Yoda. You know him? Take you to him, I will.
Did you have any idea that he was Yoda?
Not in the beginning. Because he was blocked out on the backs of the Star Wars figures. It said Yoda, but it was a blank space. Ooh. They didn't show you what it was.
Because it was a spoiler.
Yes.
Interesting.
They didn't want you to know that. And it was a hard figure to get in the very beginning. I have it now, but it came with a gimmer stick and a snake to put around his neck.
So after we get the Luke and Yoda like introduction, we go back to the Falcon, and that's when we're gonna get the Han and Leia kiss and C-3PO's cock block. That's all I say every time I see this, because he's horrible. And they kept it going in Force Awakens. Like, he's just 3PO.
At least Leia shot him a look and.
Yeah, in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
He got a pretty good glare from Han in Empire.
He got a good glare from Han.
I like Han and Leia. I think Disney kind of fucked them over.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
Yeah.
So then it actually goes into a re-edit from, like, the original, with Ian McDiarmid.
Yes.
As the Emperor. And those lines with Vader as, like, the hollow image. And the new lines, actually. All of it's essentially a new scene.
I actually like it.
I do too. That's one of the edits that I like. I like that they brought actually him in, because he's the Emperor. You know what I mean? I don't know who the other guy was, but not him.
I think the actor's name was Clive Owen.
Yeah.
And he had like chimpanzee or orangutan eyes.
Yeah.
And
it was weird.
It was weird looking.
I remember that.
And, the talking to the Emperor was really cool back in the day, because you heard about the Emperor in Star Wars, but you never see him.
Oh, of course.
And then all of a sudden you're seeing him, and you're going, dude, what's wrong with this guy? He's really fucked up. And so when Jedi comes around and Ian McDiarmid comes in, who is amazing as the Emperor, and when you go to the prequels as Palpatine and the whole thing, he's great. Even in Rebels, he was great. But it was so cool to see Ian McDiarmid in the re-edits, and I don't mind the line changes because Vader's acting surprised about Skywalker.
He's bullshitting him already.
He is totally bullshitting.
Because he knows exactly who Luke is, and he's like, "Oh, really? He's the son of Anakin Skywalker? Are you sure? Really?"
How is that possible?
It's like, oh yeah.
Search your feelings, Lord Vader.
I already know. Meanwhile, like, part of me is like thinking, why are you not asking? I thought you said like my wife died pregnant.
Yeah.
Like what? There's no...
That brings up a lot of questions in Vader's head.
Oh, already. Like, you told me this is what happened back in the day. How come I got a kid out here?
Yeah, exactly.
Where he been chilling? Oh, he's been chilling on Tatooine. That's great. Lots of questions.
Are you telling me I've been to the house where he was raised?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Don't work for bad guys. Works for Vader, too. Don't work for the Emperor.
Yeah. But yeah, I really do enjoy hearing Ian McDiarmid's voice and seeing the actual Emperor.
Exactly.
The same Emperor that we see in Sith and Jedi. And...
all of them. It's very, very cohesive. And even Ian McDiarmid said in a recent interview, like, he would prefer if no one else ever played the Emperor. He wants to.
Well, that's why he came back
for Rebels. Yeah, exactly. He recently did, for like the end of the season, the final season of Rebels, he did the voice for the Emperor, if you guys don't watch that, but it was great hearing his voice, because it was him.
It was actually him, and it brings that cohesion. And he used the Force as a hologram.
Yeah, in Rebels, he did.
It's not a Force ghost using a hologram, but or using, Force ghost using the Force, but it was in a hologram.
Through Force Skype.
Force Skype. Yes. So,
And then it goes back to Dagobah and R2 tiptoeing, like, to look inside the hut, because Luke and Yoda are in his little home now.
His little mud hut.
I like his little house, even though, like, he looks so tiny with Luke sitting in there.
Yeah. Well, he didn't need a big house. He's a little guy.
He's just a little guy, but...
You gotta mention Frank Oz.
Oh, Frank Oz, yeah, obviously. Frank Oz is amazing.
He is amazing as the voice and the puppeteer for Yoda.
Absolutely, completely amazing. And I am extremely happy that Frank Oz came back for Last Jedi.
Yes.
It's great.
Back in the day, a lot of people says, well, he kind of sounds like Miss Piggy.
I wonder why.
Yeah, no doubt.
Questions. That's so funny. But one of the best parts of this scene is when Yoda goes from the senile Yoda, crazy Yoda, and he just turns it off. I can't train him.
I cannot train him. The boy has no patience.
And then you suddenly get Obi-Wan's voice, and Luke is all like, what the fuck is happening?
He will learn patience.
And, like, Luke hits his head because he doesn't understand, but it's just that moment where you totally know it's an act then. Yeah. He isn't crazy, he's not senile Yoda. It was just testing Luke.
Test.
Yes.
It was a test.
And the second that he's like okay,
slapping Rey's hand.
Yes.
It was a test.
The second that, like, Yoda's like, okay, this kid is too much like Anakin. I can't deal with this shit. I cannot train him. Take him away. It's probably one of the best parts. And when we were watching it, I couldn't help but notice how much Mark Hamill looks like Sebastian Stan on Dagobah. This is his long-lost son, I swear to God. If you guys haven't ever look up Mark Hamill and Sebastian Stan comparison pictures. That's Bucky from the Marvel Universe, in case you don't know. They look related. He needs to play Mark Hamill in a movie.
They could do a remake of Corvette Summer.
I don't care what they do, but they look so much alike. Even Mark Hamill says it. Mark Hamill's kids say it. It's so weird how much they look alike. We get the "I'm not afraid, you will be" line.
Will be. You will be.
Didn't you say that it looks like Yoda's gonna eat him?
Yes.
It doesn't look like he's gonna eat him. That's the secret plan, actually. He wasn't gonna train Luke. He just lured him back to eat him.
Yeah.
And then jumping back to the Falcon, and the Empire is like trying to drop bombs on the asteroids to like pull them out as they're still literally hiding inside the asteroid. And Leia's in the cockpit, and the Minox scares the crap out of her.
Oh, that scene it was a good jump scare.
It is good because it's very quiet, and then the sound makes you jump.
And you get that suction cup right on the window, and she... Blah!
It's a good jump scare, it is. And then, obviously, telling Han and everybody grabbing the masks and going outside to see what's up in the cave. Quote, cave.
Yeah, and those,
cave.
and those masks, you see them again in The Force Awakens.
Yep. There's a lot of tiebacks to the Falcon and the newer ones. And then you, of course, get the, I have a bad feeling about this line as they're in there. And the cave starts moving.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like rock.
And so Han shoots it.
Yeah.
That's another good, I mean, I'm a huge Harrison Ford fan, so I think he's a really good actor. But just some of, like, the, like, almost understanding or, like, that he gets on his face when he's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Chewie
seem...
fires the bowcaster in there. And after seeing what the bowcaster does in Force Awakens...
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's got to cause some indigestion.
Yeah. And it's like after he, like, feels that and notices that is when he, like, does a test shot of, wait a second.
You see the light bulb go off over his head, and then he just takes his blaster and shoots it. And the blaster's sitting right there.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is. It is sitting
and that is an
me.
Actual... You see the sticker on the side of that?
What does it say? It says, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. How fitting.
Yes, I bought that in 1980.
Oh my gosh. Obviously running back inside. Because it's not a cave.
Sit down, sweetheart. We're taking off.
Exactly, and it's a poor little space worm, just minding his own business, living in an asteroid, and then these people come and fly into his mouth. Poor little space worm.
Yeah, space slug.
Space slug.
Yeah, and they make an oven mitt of that.
They do. I've seen the oven mitt. I want one. I've seen the oven mitt. It's cute. It's so funny. Oh, it's funny.
Oh, we also have the. We have no time to discuss this in a committee.
I am not a committee! All of these lines, there are probably the best Han and Leia lines in Empire.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
By far.
It's so funny. And then everyone always jokes, like, well, did you really expect a very romantic relationship? Your first kiss was inside a space slug.
Yeah.
It's funny. Back to Dagobah, jumping back and forth, and Luke training with Yoda on his back, which is a backpack.
Yes.
We're like promoting merchandise. Someone should sponsor me, okay? Star Wars people, sponsor me. Talking about like the dark and the light, which is actually some really good lines in there.
There's great lines in there.
Like just talking about like, is it more powerful? No.
Quicker, easier.
And it's more
seductive.
More seductive. That's the one I was thinking of, which is a pretty, good way to explain the dark versus the light.
Yeah,
I think
it really is.
Mm-hmm. And you have to give it up to Mark Hamill. All of these lines he's having with a puppet. And granted, Frank Oz is great to play off of.
Yes.
But it's their combination together. They do so well.
It's the combination of Frank Oz's performance of the puppet and Mark Hamill's reactions to the puppet that convince you that Yoda is alive.
Exactly.
Like I said earlier, when he was on the Muppet Show, he was dealing with Kermit and Fozzie Bear and all those guys. And he was just like they were living creatures and acting great off of them.
Exactly. Luke goes down like the tunnel for like his force vision thingy.
Yeah, down to the cave.
Of sorts, right? There are way too many snakes on Dagobah for my liking. I could never go to...
Snakes.
Oh, I couldn't. There's a behind the scenes of Mark Hamill's finger getting bit by one of them. I've watched a lot of behind the scenes on Star Wars, if you can't tell. But obviously the vision is like seeing Vader and like a brief little lightsaber duel, which, let me just say, Vader walking around that corner in that vision is creepy.
Oh, yeah.
He's scary.
And you can tell it's part of the vision because everything goes slow motion.
It's kind of out of focus on the edges. It goes slow motion. It's not real. You can tell that. But it's still creepy. I mean, like, him walking around that corner kind of reminds me of, like, the hallway.
The first thing you see is the light bright on his chest.
Exactly.
And you're like, and then you hear...
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, like, he chops his head off, and then it, like, pops, and Luke's face appears.
Yeah.
So is this trying to tell Luke that he could turn to the dark side, or is it trying to tell him that he's related to Vader?
It could be either one.
It's, like, so up for interpretation.
I mean, back then, I think, because I don't think Lucas really knew for sure. things. So I'm thinking it was more of a you could turn to the dark side.
Yeah.
But after you see, later in the movie where he says,
yeah,
no, I am your father, and they confirm it.
If you don't know that Vader is Luke's father, you are on the wrong podcast, my friend.
But it's definitely saying that he could turn into Vader.
Right. And I guess that's probably true because all of Yoda's thing is like, you're rushing it, you're going to go in there and it's going to be too soon for you, you're not ready.
Yeah, what's in there? Only what you take with you.
Yes.
First thing he does is strap on his gun belt.
Yeah. And then...
What would he have said if he'd have gone in there without his weapon? You sent me in there and you didn't let me take a lightsaber? You crazy? I had to run like hell.
Back to the whiny Luke. Oh my gosh, that's funny. And then it's back to the Empire with all the bounty hunters. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the original introduction to Boba Fett. Is it?
On film, the original introduction to Boba Fett was in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
There's a cartoon that Chewbacca's son watches that has Friend Boba in it. And Boba Fett was... in this cartoon, they're watching.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is... Trust me, I know this Holiday Special is really fucked up. But Lumpy is watching this cartoon. And in this cartoon, it's Han, Luke, Chewbacca, Boba Fett, and it's one of their battles. Well, if you've got this cartoon played in the universe telling you who these guys are, yeah, that's what makes it weird.
Right.
But that was the original introduction to Boba Fett, was in that cartoon.
Okay, so I guess if people didn't see that, like in the main trilogy, that was his original introduction.
That was his original introduction on film.
Right. Because now he's on Tatooine in that stupid scene where he's like waving at the camera. The stupid one, but so
Did you see me? Did you see me now? I'm still here.
Yeah,
Hi.
exactly. I wasn't sure if that was like the original introduction to him because I've only seen bits and pieces of the holiday special.
Yeah, the cartoon is really it's weird, and it's weird to have it in that universe. And I know it's not canon, but it's kind of a weird thing. But Boba Fett was originally in that, and they actually released a Star Wars figure that if you sent in proofs of purchase of other Star Wars figures and paid the shipping, you got the first edition Boba Fett figure, which I have, and I still have all the cards that the figures were mounted on, and you'll notice in the beginning there's little corners cut out of them because I was cutting out the proof of purchase to send it in to get the very first Boba Fett figure.
But the holiday special is canon, isn't it?
Well,
because Lumpy's in Aftermath.
Yeah, Lumpy is in Aftermath.
So, I mean, I think the holiday special is canon. I think it's possible that everyone was, like, just maybe tripping on some shrooms when they visited Kashyyyk. And that's why the holiday special happened.
Well, Leia was.
Okay, I'm not talking about real life, okay? Everybody.
It's so weird to see Harrison dressed as Han Solo and doing those lines as Han Solo. To look back, like I said before, in 1978, Star Wars was on TV. Oh my God, this is awesome! It's a sequel, And I was 13 years old, and I was just freaking out about it. But now, when you look back at it, it's so bad. And Mark Hamill looks like he's got eye makeup on.
It's weird. I've seen. Mark Hamill looks odd in it. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, he's really made up funny.
Back to Empire.
Yeah, let's get off this stupid holiday special.
Dear God.
But that was the original introduction to Boba.
Okay.
Was on that, and then Boba Fett came in Empire as one of the bounty hunters.
Okay.
But then that's when they first started talking about Mandalorians, and that his outfit was Mandalorian armor, which was used in the Clone Wars.
Right.
And so there were all these stories about Boba Fett that was, to me, was like, oh, more about the Clone Wars.
Right.
I was all into the armor and that kind of stuff. I think that's why clone troopers are my favorite troopers.
So maybe, I don't know. I'm not looking forward to like the Boba Fett movie. I'm just not a huge Boba Fett fan, but maybe it will be interesting. I'm still gonna see it.
I'll see them all.
But we'll see. So, then we're, after, like, seeing all the bounty hunters scene, we're back on the Falcon for, no light speed. It's not my fault. That's so many good lines, I swear to God. And, then turning the Falcon around, and it...
Throw all power into the front shield.
Yeah.
You're going to attack them?
And essentially, it disappearing.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. So brilliant. And then,
it's a great scene, too, where you're in the bridge of the Star Destroyer, and out the window, you see the Falcon go right over. Just skim the top of the bridge.
It's gone.
And then it's gone.
And Lord Vader demands an update. And the guy's like, shit, I am going to die.
I will go and apologize to him. Apology accepted, Captain Nita.
Oh, see? Don't work for bad guys. And then jumps back to Dagobah. I'm laughing at my notes here because it's so jumpy. But it seems to work in the movie.
It does work in the movie.
It works in the movie, but it's just very jumpy when I'm looking over it now. But, like, Luke doing more training, like in the, the handstands and all that stuff.
And lifting rocks.
And lifting rocks! That's what I was gonna say! Lifting rocks! Lifting rocks. Oh. And trying to lift the ship. And then, obviously,
Alright, I'll try.
Very...
Do or do not. There is no try.
That's what I was just gonna say. The very famous line from Yoda that everybody uses. And... Luke gets whiny again in this scene, like when he can't lift it.
You want the impossible.
Exactly, and then he's like goes and like huffs off and everything. Oh, he's so much like Anakin.
Yeah, he is.
That part like reminds me when they won't put him on the Jedi Council. It's not fair. Yeah. And then obviously the size matters not.
Yeah.
There are so many.
Look at me, judge me by my size, do you?
Star Wars lines that are so famous from Empire.
Yes.
That are like on merchandise that people say that even like if you're not a Star Wars fan, you still know that line.
Yeah.
A lot of them are from Empire.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, after Luke gets all whiny about it, Yoda lifts up the damn ship himself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, looking back now with the prequels. Yoda's pretty like a badass. Can do a lot of stuff with the Force, so it's kind of funny when he's like, "Why can't you do it, kid?" When it's obvious that Yoda's stronger than him, but it's still
quite a bit.
Quite a bit. And the Falcon is still attached to the ship, hiding and everything, and we're waiting to fly out with the garbage, which is also...
Or to float away with the rest of the garbage.
Exactly. And so we're, like, looking up where to go, and we're looking at the Lando system.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Lando system?
Card player, scoundrel, you'd like him. It's so funny.
The look on her face
is so
like...
funny. Oh, and then, of course, like, obviously flying away with the garbage, and Boba Fett following them.
Yeah. Why don't they look in the rearview mirror?
There is no rearview mirror. That's what I said when we were watching. I was like, it's not like they have a back window they can look out of.
Yeah, but they've got to have a radar or sonar or something that's saying that there's a ship tail grabbing their 6.
Maybe. I don't know. His ship looks like a shoe.
It's actually a street light.
A street light. Looks like a shoe. Then Luke doing more training and, making shit float, all that fun stuff. And then that's like when he, like, what would you say, like has the vision or the feeling towards something bad's gonna happen to Han and Leia.
Yeah.
And then, like, completely changes the course of his training on Dagobah, if you will. Because he's pretty much insisting that he has to help them.
He actually says, like, through the Force, things you will see other places, other times.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, Han? Leia! Everything falls down.
Oh, is that the part where Yoda falls?
Yeah.
That's fun. Everybody uses that as like a gif, like a reaction gif when he starts to fall.
Yeah. And then he says, "I saw City in the Clouds," and we really hadn't mentioned City in the Clouds. We just mentioned Lando and Bespin, but not City in the Clouds. And then Luke, "I saw City in the Clouds."
And then it like goes to like them arriving at Cloud City, and you're like, "Well, shit, that ain't good."
Yeah.
Your Jedi friend is like worried about you guys, and don't have a landing permit as they're going into.
Yeah. No, I don't have a landing permit. I'm trying to reach Lando Calrissian. Pew pew. Wait a minute. Let me explain. You will not deviate from your present course.
This is another thing that's going to be super interesting to see how they leave off Han and Lando's relationship in the Solo movie. Because, I mean, he comes out kind of irritated.
But I do like the special edition. They've added scenes to the approach to Cloud City.
Yeah.
And you see more of Cloud City in it. And it does have that cartoony look.
Right.
So it looks more like the prequels. But I do like seeing more.
Did they add in some of like the brown ships that fly beside them?
The twin pod cloud cars. I believe there was 2 escorting them in the original.
I don't know. I couldn't remember if they added it in or not.
They were like on each side, because you look out the cockpit and you see the one is floating over there. I have a toy of that one too.
Yeah, I know. That was the first time I saw Empire. I was like, there's a toy of that. We have a toy of that. Obviously, like, Lando's introduction and, like, landing on the platform and Leia, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So, is that Leia sensing? Or just, in general, not liking it?
Yeah, I don't know if they really knew about her.
No, this is, like, all of them is, like, the questionable scenes with her.
Yes, that it's very possible that...
And people say, like I said in the New Hope one, people say that that's how she resisted the interrogation, was because she was Force sensitive.
Yeah, that definitely could be that she was getting some
because
sort
the
of
Empire's already there.
Yeah, the Empire's already there.
They're like already there and chilling. So
they had light speed.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's funny is, especially in this one, Han points to himself a lot or to things. Remember when we noticed that?
Yeah.
And like I think someone made like a YouTube video about it. All the scenes where he points.
Yeah.
Like
me points at himself.
Points at himself. Me points over there. That to this. It's funny.
Why you slimy double-crossing no-good swindler? You got a lot of guts coming here after what you pulled.
Exactly. Me? See? Now there is a behind-the-scenes thing. Well, kind of behind the scenes. That from Carrie that said that they were all extremely hungover while filming arriving in Cloud City.
Really?
Yes.
I don't really see it.
I don't really see it either, although there is some, like, behind-the-scene clips where people are, like, dancing on the platform.
Really?
So, I mean, I don't know.
But I love Billy D. Williams.
He's amazing.
He is so great as Lando.
Waiting for him to show up in the sequel series, Disney.
Yes.
Dear Disney.
I wanted him in Force Awakens. He could have been there with Admiral Akbar and everybody else.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next one they'll have to bring him back to help the Resistance.
Maybe. They could do it that way. I'm really hoping for it.
Billy
but
D's
my
still
thing
around.
is, they went to a casino planet. And Lando couldn't be there? Why not?
Lando was in Rebels, voiced by Billy D. Williams.
Exactly. Bring back Lando. And then, of course, like, probably our favorite Lando line. Hello.
What have we here?
Yes.
I love it.
And that's a great interaction, too, because, like, Leia's just kind of like, okay, yeah, Leia. And then, like, Han, like, grabs her hand away. You old smoothie.
Yeah.
It's a great interaction from all of them. And then, like, I think the biggest edit for Empire that we both agree is good is the opening up of Cloud City.
It's so beautiful. Because
you can see the sky and the reflection. I don't even want to begin to know how long that took to edit. Frame by frame.
Because it's like the one when they're walking through there, it's like a sunset. So you've got that orange glow on the floor, on them,
mm-hmm.
on the walls. And
that is some of the good stuff that they opened up.
And if you go back and watch the original, it's white walls. All the way around, white walls, you don't see
it totally
anything.
wouldn't be. If you're in a city in the clouds, there would be windows everywhere.
Everywhere. I mean, it's a very beautiful setting.
No, it looks really good, and that's definitely one of the good edits that they added to the special edition. Probably my favorite.
That's the one that I agree with the most. There's some edits I don't care for, but boy, that one I just think that looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And then of course, like 3PO kind of wanders off.
No, it's an L2 unit in there.
Yeah, and gets shot up like right as the door closes. Like Chewbacca tries, but he's just a little bit short.
Chewie has a sense, and he comes back and he goes, "No, maybe not."
Leave the droid. We'll go find him later. And then we go back to Luke on Dagobah preparing to leave because he's like not gonna not do something when his friends.
I can't get the vision out of my head.
Yes, they're my friends. I have to help them. And the Obi-Wan Force Ghost popping up again. Which, thanks for coming back, Alec Guinness.
Yes.
That goes back to like the dark and light conversation because Obi-Wan is like warning him that he can't do anything. He won't interfere. If
you choose to face Vader, I cannot interfere.
Exactly. And I said it when we were watching it the last time that Yoda sounds like Willy Wonka at some points. Like, no, come back. No, please, stop. Stop what you're doing. Like, it's so... Because he's just like, oh, Jesus, this kid. Like... what... Is it my favorite line in Empire? It might be. That boy is our last hope. No, there is another. I love that part. With the ship lifting up and the lights... I like the line, I like the shot, I love it all.
And the ghost disappearing.
Yes, all of it.
Of course, in 1980, and they said, no, there is another, I sat there and went, oh my God, it's Han! Han is it! It's Han!
Han is not a Jedi. It's so funny.
I totally thought it was Han. But I
don't think I knew, I don't think I had, the first time I watched it, I don't think I had any idea of who it could be. I had no idea.
Well, like I've said, I am just a huge Han Solo fan.
Right.
I like he's almost like a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy pirate, you know? He just, Harrison Ford plays it so cool. He's so cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was all about Han Solo. And it took me until, you know, the prequels came out before I go, those originals were all about Luke, weren't they?
Han was a side character, wasn't he? Oh, shit.
I can tell you the number of the pressure maintenance hatch in the trash compactor, but I didn't catch that Luke was the hero.
Luke was a hero. Well, that's because he doesn't turn into a hero until, like, he has to go through a lot of whiny phase before you get, like, the hero. That's
why Return of the Jedi Luke is my favorite Luke.
That's the best.
It's the best until Last Jedi.
It is kind of like a cliffhanger, though. There is another. Well, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah. And originally, from what I have seen, it wasn't supposed to be Leia.
No,
he was supposed to have a twin sister
on some other planet,
and she was supposed to be training Jedi on the other planet.
Which is just fascinating to me with how many things tie in perfectly that it is Leia.
Yeah.
So lucky. It's weird. It's really weird, some of the stuff that tied in.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, that was the original thing. It was supposed to be some other girl was his sister.
Which would have been interesting, but at the same time, did we really have time to introduce something like that?
No, that was why they changed it. Mm-hmm. They needed to go with an existing character.
Right.
And that's why it became Leia.
Right. And so then, obviously, Leia and Han are on Cloud City. She changes into her red outfit, which is my favorite. I love her Cloud City look.
See, my favorite look for her is once she goes back to the snowsuit.
With the Cloud City
hair.
With
the Cloud City hair. I think that's where she looks best.
But the whole, like, Cloud City bit with, like, Han and Leia after they've been there for a bit just seems, like, extremely tense. Like, there's something... Like, I remember when I first watched it that it's like you don't know the Empire's there, but some things doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
It's, like, almost too easy. Okay, we just landed here. You haven't talked to this dude in forever, but here, sure, he'll help you with this. He'll fix your ship. He'll do all this. It just, something didn't seem right.
And Leia, again...
I don't trust Lando. Yeah. She's like, doesn't want, like, fix the ship and we'll be right on our way because something isn't right here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like the question, is it just Leia or is it the Force sensitivity?
Well, it definitely, you can write, even if George Lucas didn't have that in mind in 1980.
You can say it now.
You can, looking back at it, you can say that's what it is.
And then it just, like, adds to it when, like, Chewie finds 3PO's parts and he comes back in, he's like, hey, putting back 3PO and everything. It just keeps adding more and more that something isn't right. And, like, Lando people can look at that. No thanks.
Yeah. And then when Lando comes in, having trouble with your droid? No problem. Why?
Yeah, exactly. And then we were talking about Leia being, like, tiny in the hallway on Hoth. Boy, does she look tiny on the hallway in Cloud City. Carrie was so tiny.
You got Billy D. You got Harrison Ford.
Peter Mayhew.
You got Peter Mayhew.
And then
you got this little itty bitty
and she's in flats.
Yeah.
She just looks so tiny next to all of them.
Yes, she does.
Oh,
she really does.
It's crazy. But, once again, all the tension on Cloud City... Chewie starts to get on it too.
You see it. He's like sniffing around and he's
like,
looking
something's
back
wrong.
And forth, and he's like, he knows something is
exactly.
not right.
And then you're like heading to the room, and the door opens.
I've just made a deal that'll keep the Empire out of here forever. The door opens,
and there's Vader. That part I remember, like, was like a holy shit moment for me because when I first watched it, Because, like I said, I didn't know the Empire was there. I thought something was weird, but I didn't expect Vader to be on the other side of the door.
In 1980, the first time we saw it, it was like, oh my God. But then you get Harrison Ford.
The best Han moment ever.
Han doesn't even think. That blaster is out of that holster and shooting at Vader.
Yes, immediately.
In seconds. I mean, there's not, oh, should I take a shot at him?
Nope.
No, it's draw, fire.
Yeah. And it's funny, if you watch it, as like when he pulls it out of the holster and starts shooting, his free hand never lets go of Leia's hand. Have you ever caught that?
No.
Watch that again, because like the quick moment of he sees Vader, starts shooting, his other hand is back like this, holding on to Leia's. And then like Vader's like deflecting it and he starts to lower it, and then they let go. It's just like literally like that.
Vader just jerks it out of his hand and it flies across and Vader catches it.
Yep.
We would be honored if you would join us.
And
Boba Fett rocks
the
around the
death
corner.
glare that Lando gets from Leia.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to kind of be looking at Han because like Lando and Han are talking,
Yeah.
but the look that Leia gives Lando is like, "Who if looks could kill, right there, that'd be the one." And then it's like obviously they go and have their brunch. I've always wanted to know what happened in that room.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What happened?
It's all set up as a formal dining room.
That's what I mean. It's like,
it's
go
weird.
have some brunch, everyone, with your future father-in-law.
Ain't that the truth?
You should have gave him some tips on how to raise their children. All right, so
Let him wait a little while before he gives tips.
then, so obviously Luke is on his way. He's almost there, but obviously shit is already starting to happen, and Chewie's in the cell at that point, trying to fix 3PO.
Yeah,
At least he had something.
comes in and they have that high-pitched squealing going on, and he's all grabbing the ceiling and shaking.
Which I think of like a puppy. Like how dogs don't like high-pitched things.
That's the way I took it.
Yeah.
Because Chewbacca was based on basically George Lucas's dog, Indiana.
Yeah.
Which was a Malamute, I believe it was, that used to ride in the passenger seat of his hot rod.
Right.
And so you've got to think of Chewie like a dog.
Right, exactly.
And so the high pitch would definitely be bothering him. But then he starts working on 3PO just to keep
something
his sanity.
to do, yeah, as you're stuck in a cell. And Han being tortured, and like Lando hearing him screaming outside the door and everything. But my big thing with Lando, everyone hates Lando for him doing this, like for like betraying Han and Leia and all that jazz. What was he supposed to do?
No, he's responsible for everybody in Cloud City.
Yeah.
And he did it to protect the people he's responsible for, which is showing he's not the scoundrel that he originally was.
You can see that it's bothering him. Like when he hears Han being tortured, he's like, hey, this wasn't part of the plan. Like, this isn't thing. And then he tries to bring it up to Vader, and he's like, perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly? And it's like, what are you supposed to do? Vader's going to choke him out in 2 seconds.
Right. You know, I hate to quote Star Trek again, but the good of the many outweighs
exactly. It's like all of these people in Cloud City, they show up and are like demanding, you have to do this, you have to give us these people, or we're going to kill all these people here. I
mean, all they have to do is blast Cloud City from space with a
They
Star Destroyer.
already blew up a
Alderaan.
planet.
Yeah.
Alderaan is gone. Can't tell me that everyone in that galaxy doesn't know that happened.
Yeah. So when I first saw it, I was totally angry with Lando for betraying him.
But it's like looking back on
it over the years, you realize,
what was he supposed to do?
What was he supposed to do? He had no choice. Because
even if he had been like, oh no, I refuse, then they would have killed him on the spot. When they arrived, they just would have taken them.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't have been there to have any sort of pull or anything to ensure their safety or anything.
Yeah, because he fights for Leia and Chewie.
Yeah, he wanted to keep them. I don't know. People are still, like, seriously irritated with Lando, and I just don't understand what else he could have done in that situation.
He had no choice. There's no doubt about that.
Yep. So then after Han gets tortured, he looks like shit when he walks back into that cell.
I feel terrible.
Yeah. Leia being thrown in your snowsuit and Cloud City hair.
Cloud City hair.
Yeah. And then that's when Lando, like, comes in and it is, like, explaining what is happening, that they're the bait.
Yeah.
Of the situation.
He's after somebody called a Skywalker.
Yeah.
And we're the bait.
Exactly. And then Han hits him, punches him. There was a time when we were trying to figure out if Han had ever punched someone before after Force Awakens came out. Because he does punch someone in that.
One of the gang that's on the big ship.
And we were like, no, he's never punched anyone before. Then we watched Empire, and we're like, oh, holy shit, he punched Lando.
He punched Lando, and I forgot about that.
And then, like, Lando's people were, like, beating the crap out of him, and Lando's like, stop!
Yeah, well, they hit him with their guns right in the back of the head.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Leia, you certainly have a way with people.
And he's all like, ow, 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 ow. I don't even want to know what that makes me think of Rebels now.
Yeah.
That's what I think of now.
That is... If you guys haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, I would highly recommend it. I have not seen all of the Clone Wars, but I have seen all of Star Wars Rebels.
I think Clone Wars is back on Netflix, so I'm going to try and rewatch them. But yeah, Rebels was really good stuff.
It was really good, and it just ended. And it ended so good. And it, just in case you haven't seen it, I ain't going to tell you how it ends, but there is some stuff in the last, 3-4 episodes that was just pretty epic.
So then, of course, we are prepping for, like, the carbon freeze and the testing it on Captain Solo. Yeah. To make sure.
I do not want the Emperor's prize damaged. We will test it on Captain Solo.
I'm trying to imagine if, like, Luke would have actually been frozen, how that would have worked out. Like, here, I found Skywalker. He's in a slab of carbonite.
Well, he would have known how to thaw him out.
No, I know. It's just,
it would have
if the plan would have worked, it's a weird thought. Yeah. It's just like a weird thought.
Well, who knows? Maybe the Emperor would have hung him on the wall like Jabba did.
No, because he wanted an upgrade.
He wanted the upgrade.
This is Anakin Skywalker's son. I want the upgrade. That's his plan from the beginning.
And if you go into the midichlorians, Vader lost midichlorians when he lost all those limbs.
Yep.
Which I'm not real big into the midichlorians, but I understand that reasoning.
Right, yeah. And then bringing everyone in and, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, what's going on?
You're being put into carbon freeze.
And I like the way Lando says it. He's kind of talking out of the corner of his mouth.
Yeah, like
You're being put into carbon freeze.
Yeah, exactly. So considering that Harrison and Carrie had a huge blowout right before this scene. Do you know this?
No. Huge
blowout. So, Harrison was trying to work with, I always say his name wrong, Irvin Kershner?
Yeah.
Where they were trying to, like, collab on an idea for part of the I know part and how the whole carbon freeze thing was going to happen. Whatever it was, there was a huge fight between Carrie and Harrison right before this scene.
Really?
Huge. So take that into consideration. The next time you watch all of that scene, all the carbonite freezing scene, you can't tell anything is wrong.
No, because Leia looks totally worried. And
you can't tell there's any tension or anything between them. So they're either really good actors or they had a little bit of chill out time, but there was like a huge blowout between them.
Yeah, and originally it was scripted for Han to say, I love you too.
Yeah, and that was part of Harrison switching it.
And Harrison says, Han Solo wouldn't say this.
Exactly.
He goes, this is not Han Solo. And Irvin Kershner finally just says, well, just say what you think you would say. Leia says, I love you. And he goes, I know.
And that's become one of the most famous Star Wars lines now.
It is.
Which, yeah, it fits Han perfectly.
And Chewie has a little meltdown where he starts throwing stormtroopers.
Exactly. All of the carbonite stuff is really well done, especially when you think about the fight. But, like, Chewie starts throwing stuff. There's a look that Leia gets when she looks at Vader where she looks scared shitless.
Yes.
We noticed that Boba Fett goes to lift his blaster and Vader pushes it down.
Yes.
So, I don't know what that was
about. When
Chewie
is freaking out and throwing stormtroopers, and Boba Fett raises his rifle and is taking aim on Chewbacca, and Vader reaches over and pushes the barrel down.
It's like, I don't know if he was like, no, just let it, like, chill out. We're just gonna make sure that this happens how it happens, or what. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know his motive on that.
The princess, you've got to take care of her.
And once again, Peter Mayhew's eyes, because he looks like a sad little puppy with his eyes like, I know.
And then the way Leia leans over and is holding Chewie, and Chewie's kind of holding her, and, it's really a good scene.
All of it is really good. And I always thought that it was very beautiful, that scene, with the oranges and the blues.
Yeah.
It's just it's a nice little set area with the different lighting that they did.
Well, it's a great, and it looks great later on too when Luke is in it. It's just it's a good set.
Yeah, all of the set and the lighting and everything that they did is good. So then, yeah, Han gets turned into carbonite. And I still want a fridge of him in carbonite, or a coffee table, please. Yeah. It's my goal in life.
There's a comic book where Lando has a desk that is Boba Fett in carbonite.
That's funny. But yeah, so he survives, obviously, the carbonite making process and all that jazz. And then...
Take Leia and the Wookiee to my ship.
Yep, exactly. I'm altering the deal. Pray don't alter it any further.
Yeah.
See, and then that's I think that was pretty much like the final straw for Lando.
That was because he thought he had to turn over his buddy, and the least he could do is
keep them safe.
Keep them safe. And once Vader changed the deal, that's when
his little Apple Watch
calling Captain Picard with headphones.
Picard with headphones. Stop talking about Star Trek!
There's a lot of people that say that he looks like Patrick Stewart. I don't think he really looks like Patrick Stewart.
I don't think he looks like Patrick Stewart.
A bald guy.
He's just a bald white guy.
And he's actually a Terminator. Did you know that? He's a cyborg by choice. Lobot.
Interesting.
Yeah, the character is a cyborg by choice.
Weird.
Yeah, it's in the novelization and
that's weird.
All that, but I like the way he hits his Apple Watch and Lobot's eyes pop open and the plan's already in motion.
Yep.
And
on the side. And meanwhile, Luke has arrived and is walking the hallways, but everything is like dead to the world.
There is nobody.
There's no one there. And then, of course, when he actually sees them, you get the first version of "It's a trap."
Yes.
Leia screaming at Luke.
Don't! It's a trap! It's a trap!
Which, why wouldn't you scream that at your friend if you know you're the bait? Like, you might as well try and get him out of here, even though he wasn't going to listen. But
it's like in an action movie when you kidnap somebody and you hand them the phone to prove that they're alive and they shout.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 14 people on the upper level.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, that's how I always took that, is you try to get a line out to warn whoever's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And the actor who plays Boba Fett is in that scene.
He is. He's the stupid little fucker that grabs Leia and uses her as a shield.
Yes, that's Jeremy Bulloch, the actor that is inside the Boba Fett costume.
Yep.
I guess the other thing about Boba Fett is originally he had a different voice. And in the re-edits, they went back, and Tamira Morrison,
because he's a clone,
did the voice because he is a clone of Jango Fett.
That tripped me out the first time I watched the re-edit, because I was actually used to the other guy's voice.
Yes.
And hearing Jango's voice was weird.
As you wish.
It was weird.
And of course, my go-to line for Jango is "Always a pleasure to meet a Jedi."
Yeah, that one is the one that you say all the time. Let's see. So then, obviously, Luke is wandering further, and then gets into the actual carbon chamber area, and then that's Vader's introduction. The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet.
No. How many times did I say that over the PA in my black truck?
Oh my gosh, so much.
All your friends used to love that. I had a big black 4-wheel drive, and it had a PA speaker on the winch on the front, and I used to grab the CB when I go pick up Cassie at school, and I'd get right close to the microphone, and I go, "The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet." And it just sounded so cool coming over, and all the kids start screaming. They loved it. So.
And then we get the lightsaber fight, which Vader is just going so easy on him.
He's toying with him.
Yeah. He's one-handed. Didn't we say that when we watched it?
He's one-handed.
It's just let's just fuck with him a little bit here.
And then when Luke goes one-handed...
Yeah, he fails. He's not ready at all.
Vader spins the saber out of his hand.
Yeah. Because, you have to, even though, the prequels help with this, even though he's, half machine, you have to picture Hayden Christensen lightsaber skills.
Yes.
In this suit.
Yes.
He's gonna kick your ass.
Yeah. And the lightsaber is like a samurai sword. It is a two-handed weapon.
Yep.
It is not a single-handed weapon, and he's just toying with him because he knows Luke has no
he's not
skills.
ready.
He's not ready for this.
Not ready at all. And then jumping back, we have like Lando's people surrounding and taking over essentially, and Chewbacca choking him out.
Yeah.
Chance to save.
Oh, we understand, don't we, Chewie?
Yeah.
Like, because both of them were like, no, fuck you. they're a little peeved. They just watched their friend get frozen in carbonite, so everybody's a little pissed. And Han is being put on Boba Fett. Boba Fett? What's a Boba Fett?
It's a new workout program.
Boba Fett. Oh my god. I want a Boba Fett. On Boba Fett's ship.
Slave 1.
Slave 1. Who named that?
I don't know.
Weird. And then it gets more of the edits for the opening up of Cloud City, like we said, especially when like Lando and Leia and Chewie are like running to catch them.
They're trying to get to
lots
these
of reflection
platforms.
on the floor for that, with the sun and the different colors and everything.
It's getting dark by the time.
It's like sunset.
Yeah, it's definitely sunset when they're running through there. And
And then that's like the shootout with like stormtroopers and all that, because they don't, obviously, if you don't know, why are you listening to the podcast? But they don't rescue Han, and Boba Fett gets away with him.
yes.
And Leia's face is super sad when they
When she's
focus
standing
in.
and they're shooting at Slave 1 with their blasters.
And she's almost in like a daze looking back at it before she like snaps out of it.
Before the laser blasts are coming out the
seriously.
door at her.
And then back to the lightsaber fights. Luke does fall into the chamber, but he just jumps right back out. Like,
He force jumps.
what, you think he's just gonna stand in there?
Well, I think that Vader assumed that Obi-Wan can no longer train him. Vader doesn't necessarily know Yoda's still alive.
Oh, no.
So he doesn't
I
know
think that's
there
very
is
true.
a Jedi Master who has been training him.
Yeah, because he doesn't,
So
He was the person that was in charge of hunting down all the Jedi. He would assume that everyone is dead.
right. And when he goes in there, he reaches over with the Force and hits the button to turn it on, and he says, all too easy. And all of a sudden, Luke does this $6 million man jump.
Yep.
Up. Impressive. Most impressive.
And then it's like Luke walking through the different tunnels and all of the random stuff. And then it gets to the point where Vader beats the shit out of him.
Yeah. Out in front of that window.
Yes. And that's another jump scare too. When Luke is walking down that hallway and
That's
Vader...
after he beats the shit out of him, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He beats the
Scary
shit
crap.
out of him, and then he goes out the window, and then he walks around to what looks like an arcade.
Yes.
Which is the scene
That
from
Rey
Force
sees.
Awakens
Yes.
that Rey sees. And then all of a sudden he jumps out, and he looks huge.
Yes.
He looks way bigger than he did in the other scenes when he pops out. And both his hands are on that saber, and he is hacking like crazy. And Luke's, all he's doing is just, little block here, block here.
He's got, like,
I'm going to back off.
They threw like a million things at his head. He went through a window, and he's just like, not ready. Which Yoda and Obi-Wan tried to tell him, but he don't listen. He's a very stubborn child.
And they work their way out onto that platform on the...
Why
is
is
this here?
Galaxy
Galaxy
Quest. And at that point, with Lando, with Chewie and Leia, is when he makes the announcement to everyone in Cloud City to basically get the fuck out.
The Empire's taking control of the city. I advise everybody to get the fuck out.
And then everybody runs away with their ice cream machines.
Yes, there's the guy with the ice cream maker that runs by.
Oh, so funny.
They actually made a Star Wars figure of that's Ice Cream Maker Man.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
Yeah,
picture.
I think that's hilarious.
It's so funny.
But yeah, you've got everybody trying to evacuate. That's a lot of people to evacuate. But
Yeah.
by doing that, you put confusion, which
this
buys
is
them
true.
time to try
Exactly.
to get to the Falcon and get out of there.
This very true. And at that point, like, it's kind of crazy hectic because you have a bunch of people running around at the same time. Like, Leia and Lando and Chewie are like shooting at stormtroopers. They're trying to run here. They're running there. Lando's like pulling and forcing Leia out the damn door towards the Falcon at that point.
And they find R2.
They find R2, and exactly. R2 meets up with them because the door shut on R2 when Luke's going into the chamber.
Yeah. There's actually a lip on the ground that he wouldn't have been able to roll over. And at that point, we didn't know R2 had jets in his arms that he could fly.
But he could have, like, tiptoed up over it.
Yeah, he probably could have, but the door shuts too quick.
It's too quick.
Cuts him off.
He's just cut off from there. And then back on the platform with Luke and Vader and all of that stuff. Like, Luke is just beat at this point.
No,
he's done.
thrashed. He's totally thrashed.
He's, like, totally done. And then, of course, in turn, off goes the hand and the lightsaber.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough.
He's very whiny.
He told me you killed him.
He's very whining.
No, I am your father. No,
that's
not
not
true. That's impossible. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
And you know what? That is like one of the most incorrect Star Wars lines.
Yeah.
No, I am your father. Everyone always says, Luke, I am your father. It's one of the most incorrect quoted lines ever.
That's one of your Berenstein Bear things.
Yes, it's one of the Mandela effects.
Yeah,
True story.
Most people remember it as Luke, I am your father, and it's no, I am your father.
Vader's whole speech to Luke is pretty much the same as his speech to Padme, Anakin's speech to Padme in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. I love parallel scenes like that.
And then...
instead of like, rule the galaxy together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son. It's like the same lines.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, and Kylo Ren does the same thing. I love it. I love the different fuck up generations.
No, it's very, very true, because that's when you know that Vader's been planning this. You know, I said before that the Emperor liked Vader because he didn't have any ambition to take over until Empire. And once he realizes his son is there and his son is powerful with the Force, then that's when he starts thinking, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
And he starts lying to the Emperor and has his own plans. He already knows about Luke, all of this stuff.
I mean, you still have the Force Unleashed stuff with Star Killer.
Yeah.
And that's in there, but I don't know if it's still canon. But
I don't know what's canon.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell anymore.
It's very difficult. So please explain to me where the lightsaber went that Maz Kanata gets it.
I have no idea. It went down that tube and ended up on Taco Donut.
I have no idea. Can you imagine, do you want to be Mark Hamill with that secret that Vader's his father for X amount of months?
Oh no, that does make it horrible. You see the pain in his face once he's on the Falcon. You know, when Vader uses the Force time.
Yeah.
And Luke, father, son. You see that. You know,
I don't want to be that person that had to keep that secret.
He's wanted to know his father forever. But, you know, that's the thing. He can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't tell anybody until he tells Leia in Jedi. Of course, he doesn't say... You know, he goes, he's my father and you're my sister, so I guess that makes him your father too. He doesn't.
Yeah, he lets her connect those dots.
Yeah.
And then Luke pretty much bounces at the idea of ruling the galaxy together. He jumps down the thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, gotta go.
And that's when you gotta think Vader's going, wow, when it was me, I caved in.
Yeah.
And he's strong enough that he would rather die than turn.
Upgrade, sorry, my friend.
And, you know, that's a very important part, that he would rather jump off into the, why is it there, endless bottomless pit, you know?
And he like kind of gets sucked into a slide there.
A Goonie slide.
A Goonie slide. And then he like falls down like to the metal rails. And you see the freaking hand fall out.
Yes, you do.
But the lightsaber you don't actually see.
No. I would like an explanation of how they found
if anybody knows a comic or a story that has explained how Maz got that lightsaber, please link me to it, because I don't understand how she got it.
Yeah, because Bespin is a gas giant.
I do know that originally, in the beginning of Force Awakens, there was supposed to be a floating hand and lightsaber. That's how the movie was supposed to open.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what happened with that.
And that's when, at the end of Force Awakens, when Rey's holding the lightsaber up to Luke and he's saying, oh, did you find a hand with that?
Mark Hamill says that so much. It's so funny. We go back to, like, Luke calling out to Ben, and he's, you know, cannot be reached.
Yeah.
He told him he wasn't going to be.
And it wasn't that he couldn't, it was that he wouldn't.
It was Luke's choice to do it.
And by Luke leaving Dagobah and leaving Yoda, he could not interfere.
Yep.
He would not interfere.
Exactly. So then in turn, he calls to Leia. Which, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, this is his friend that he knows was there. That makes sense. But now he called out to the nearest Force-sensitive person.
Exactly.
And it completely changed. This is another one that makes it so lucky, because that scene between them when he's calling out to her and she's sitting in the Falcon is another one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, the look on her face, the way she's just kind of sitting there. She's in shock all about Han and everything. And then all of a sudden she's, Luke, I know where Luke is. Chewie, we have to turn around. And Chewie starts doing it.
Exactly.
And Lando's all,
like,
hey, but the Empire's still back there.
All right.
And Chewie's all, rah, at him. All right.
And that, talking about like parallel scenes, that kind of does that parallel scene in Last Jedi. When Luke and Leia call out to each other.
Yeah.
I like parallel scenes. But it just makes it so very lucky that they decided that she was the one.
Yeah.
It's weird that they didn't know it.
And then they fly under and they see the weather vane up there. And look, there's somebody up there.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, Lando going for the top hatch.
Yeah, Leia said, Lando, open the top hatch. Mm-hmm. And last time I said he climbs a ladder, but it's not. There's an elevator. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he does kind of like go up.
He raises up. And
I do like that he like hooks the cable, because I don't want to be blown away up top of that.
Because they actually take off before the hatches close.
Mm-hmm.
And because Lando's perfect hair is all messed up because it's all blown all over the place as he, because Luke gets so thrashed in this. He gets all those things thrown at him. Yeah. He gets his hand cut off. He falls down a bottomless pit. Mm-hmm. He catches on that weather vane, which I can only imagine what that does to the back of your legs when you hit. Then he drops 10 feet or so to the top of the Falcon.
Yeah.
The guy is beat to shit.
I used to think about that, like hanging on that weather thingy, like when I used to hang on the monkey bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
It hurts the back of your knees. And then to pop back up and get yourself off. Oof, no thank you.
Yeah.
And it's like, you better hold on or look down. That's a gas planet.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But yeah,
but they do get him right to the little med bay, because he is so. And even when he walks in the hallway and Leia hugs him, he looks thrashed.
He looks
so beat up, which is, I think, good that he did get beat up, because
it spanked him down.
Yeah, that he's not ready. He didn't show up and be, he's an expert Jedi.
No.
After barely. No, they told you this was gonna happen, and you got your ass handed to you.
Yes.
So I think it's better that way.
It was a lesson.
It was a lesson, most
because
definitely.
The next time he faces Vader, he is
totally
definitely
ready.
Different.
And then the fighters are going after the Falcon, and Leia's helping Luke, and she kisses him again. Stop kissing your brother! Stop kissing your brother! God, stop it! And the best reaction shot in this movie, do you know what it is?
The Admiral?
No. The best reaction shot is when the hyperdrive fails again on the Falcon, and Chewie and Leia turn and look at Lando at the same time.
Yeah, and Chewie's leaning forward and looking over there. No light speed.
It's so funny.
They told me they fixed it.
And then, of course, R2 had been in the Cloud City computer system, so he knew.
He knew that the hyperdrive had just been deactivated.
Yeah, and so he did his thing.
Chewie's back there, bam, and he hits the thing, and he's trying to get it to work.
Exactly. See, R2, the hero, saves the day.
Yep.
Because then,
And then he lands on Chewie.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yes, he does. And then, Vader calling out to Luke, like you had said, with the Father,
son.
Come with me. It is your destiny.
It is your destiny.
And he looks troubled. He's
yeah.
And pissed at the same time that Ben didn't tell him.
Ben, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. And then, obviously the Empire's getting ready and all that jazz, and then the hyperdrive gets fixed, and the Falcon shoots away.
Yes. And then the Admiral's like, that's the reaction shot that I really like.
That's
is when it takes off, he's like,
shit.
Oh shit.
I'm gonna die.
I am going to die.
And Vader's double take that you pointed out. I had never noticed that before, but Vader does a double take.
He looks back and he looks again.
Did I really just see the Falcon?
Did that really just happen?
Oh.
And then he just walks away.
And that guy is like, oh god, I'm gonna die. So the end of the movie is back with the Alliance, and Luke getting his new hand. Lando and Chewie are on the Falcon, obviously, and Lando stole Han's clothes. I'm sorry, it looks like he raided his closet.
Everybody says that. He hung up his cape and took Han's vest.
Exactly. But I like the metronics of Luke's hand.
Well, the mechanics in the hand. Yeah,
mechanics of it
in the hand,
as they're
putting. That's
I like
really,
that.
really cool.
It still looks good today.
No, it looks great.
It still looks good.
It's a great special effect.
But yeah, so it's just the ending of setting up for Return of the Jedi, essentially. Chewie and Lando are gonna go find where Han is, and they'll meet them at the rendezvous.
We'll meet you at the rendezvous point on Tatooine.
And Leia and Luke are with the Alliance, which you'll know that Leia stays and Luke kind of hops back and forth if you've read stuff in between there. Yeah. But that's pretty much where the movie ends, is the Falcon shooting off and Luke and Leia watching it go away.
And Luke is wearing a thing that looks like what he wore in the first movie.
And so is Leia.
Leia is wearing a dress with the hood
yep.
that it looks like what she wore in the first movie.
Yeah. I think she looks so pretty at the end of that movie where she smiles at Chewbacca over the comm.
Yeah, when Chewie...
And it makes me sad at the same time because everyone put that clip in all of her memory, in all of Carrie's memory things. That smile. Everyone put that. That was like...
Yeah, it is so good.
But that's where The Empire Strikes Back ends.
Yeah.
That's where it ends. Voila. And then it goes into the score.
And in 1980, I thought, 3 more years.
Oh, fuck. No, thank you.
Because when Star Wars came out, we really didn't know that there was going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
You know, all we had, like I said, was Starlog magazine. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing we had to keep up on stuff like that.
So it's totally different from today, where you get like updates and this and this and other.
And now you get Twitter and Instagram and, you know, people put stuff on Facebook.
The actors are filming already. Like, you get that type of stuff.
Send that kind of stuff, and it makes it really, really cool today to know. Plus, they announce release dates on all this stuff ahead of time.
Yep.
And back then, you know, we didn't know. It was all of a sudden there were commercials for Empire, and we're like, there's going to be another one? And so at that point, we figured that it was, you know, 77 to 80 was 3 years, so we figured it'd be another 3 years. It'd be 83. We would have another movie. But when you walk out, you go, oh, well, what's going to happen? We got to wait 3 years to find out what happened to Han?
Yeah, seriously. You know? That's the big cliffhanger, yeah.
That's the huge, huge cliffhanger there is, will they get Han? And Harrison Ford actually wanted Han to die.
Yeah.
He said that would change things up, and George Lucas said, no.
Nope.
We need Han Solo back in the end. And
yeah, so it's very different for me experience because obviously you like lived through the releases of the originals.
Yes.
I could sit down and watch them on VHS, so I didn't have to deal with the waiting.
The 3-year gap.
And even when the prequels came out for me, there weren't cliffhangers with the prequels.
No.
You knew what was going to happen, essentially. And even like the stuff, like it just wasn't a cliffhanger. However, when Force Awakens came out, that was my first like real experience of the cliffhangers that like your generation had gone through.
Yes.
Because like, who the fuck is Rey? And Luke doesn't speak and have a lightsaber and all this. Those type of cliffhangers were like my first introduction to the stuff that you would have went through with like Empire.
Yes.
So.
And at least you knew.
And even with like the Last Jedi stuff now and everything, like.
And you knew at that point you only had to wait 2 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and in the middle you got a Rogue One to hold you over.
That's true.
Until the next one came out.
Yep.
And so it does make it a lot different.
Yeah.
But back then it was crazy. You know, we started seeing things in magazines about Revenge of the Jedi.
Exactly,
and
Revenge of the Jedi.
Everybody's going, oh, Revenge of the Jedi's the next one, that's awesome. And as Return of the Jedi got closer, you start seeing posters that said Revenge of the Jedi.
Yeah.
In fact, the theater we go to for years had a framed Revenge of the Jedi poster.
That shit is rare.
Yeah, it's very, very rare.
So the next Star Wars podcast that we do will obviously be Return of the Jedi. It is my favorite. And it is your favorite.
It is my favorite.
Of all of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
So
it is my number one.
There's a lot to talk about with that next one. I do appreciate all of you that have been listening to this podcast. And there were a few of you that messaged me and commented that you wanted to see this Empire podcast with the two of us. So here you go. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you for joining me on my chit chat with Cass. Father of mine.
Oh, no problem. I tend to like me a little bit of Star Wars.
A little bit of Star Wars. The next one we should just talk with accents.
Which accent do you want? I can do the Russian accent if you want.
No, I think we should do like an English accent.
Make it a proper English accent.
And then we could go like in and out of it.
I just don't know what part of England I'm doing it from.
I don't know either.
I know there are different English accents, but I don't know which one I'm actually doing.
We could go in and out of it like Carrie.
You could go in and out of it like Carrie does. That's right.
Alright, lovelies. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode of Chit Chat with Cass.
Later.